If I said I had good news, I'd be lying. It's not great. I can't even talk here. Let's go ahead and let's start streaming. We got to talk about injuries. We got to look at what we can do to potentially change this. All right. So looking at what we have with the rankings that got posted a couple hours ago, we had put CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver 2 overall just because right after the game, they said like, oh yeah, he's kind of fine, right? He can come back and he can play next week. Looks like that's not the case. CeeDee Lamb now expects to miss 3 to 4 weeks. He's not going to be placed on the IR, but he's at least going to be missing 2 games. So if I see this, I'm assuming that you can't start CeeDee Lamb for the next month. This is going to have a couple different things changing with my rankings. We can go ahead and let's pull these up. I already updated these on the site, so I'm sure you already saw this if you remember the site, but nonetheless, I moved CeeDee Lamb down to the wide receiver 9 in my rest of season ranks. If I could sell Lamb for St. Brown, Neighbors, Chase, Jefferson, JSN, Nico Collins, it would be an absolute no-brainer, and I would do that right now. And you can already see coming in at the bottom of this little screen, George Pickens is moving up in a dramatic way. George Pickens is up to my wide receiver 12. If I had Pickens on my team, which I don't, I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't drafting much Pickens this year, whether it was in the Flock League, I didn't take him. And honestly, I didn't draft him any best ball drafts. I wish I did. George Pickens will be a top 10 wide receiver in my rankings this next week. The Dallas Cowboys defense is garbage. Dak Prescott's pretty good. They're going to have to throw the ball with aggression. The other thing that we probably need to update is go ahead and look at these QB rankings. At this point, I'm going to nuke Dak Prescott. I think I'd rather have Daniel Jones ahead of him at this point. We're going to move Dak down to 14. I need to do an overhaul with the QB rankings anyway. I need to do an overhaul with the tight end ranks. At this point, I would move Jake Ferg ahead of Sam Laporta. I think Jake Ferg is my tight end 6 rest of season. We saw him get a tremendous amount of volume this past week. And again, I think the passing volume is simply just going to have to be there because this Dallas Cowboys defense is really, really bad. And it's a safe spot to assume that we get a ton of Dak Prescott pass attempts. So be super excited about Pickens. Be pretty excited if you have Jake Ferguson as well. And then when we're looking at CeeDee Lamb, of course, he gets absolutely nuked. That's not the only injury that we have to deal with. That's not the only thing that we have to talk about. We're going to look at a ton of fantasy football teams here. I'm going to try to save as many teams as we possibly can. And of course, I want to remind y'all that I am live streaming every single day answering fantasy football questions. If you are not already subscribed, I would highly recommend subscribing. Hitting the bell next to the subscribe button as well will make YouTube tell you whenever we go live so you can come in and you can get some of your questions in here and maybe let me take a little peek at your team. But this first team that we're going to look at here is going to be from Skull Vikes. Says, should I make any trades or holds? Feel strong at wide receiver, but my running backs could use some help. So we are currently number 1 in the league analyzer. Coming into this week, we were 2-0. We had 248 points, so we were like right in the middle of this league in terms of points scored, but we have the most future value. And I think a big reason for that is obviously in my rankings, we had Amari Hampton flying up after the Najee Harris injury. We had George Pickens flying up after the CeeDee Lamb injury. We have Igbuka moving up as well. So across the board, we're looking pretty good at this point. Now, starting off quarterback, Jalen Hurts, elite quarterback. You're starting him every single week, regardless of the matchup. Not much to discuss there, right? If you have him, you're super excited. And I would say if you were in a shallower format, we could go ahead and we could drop Jordan Love. Like, you would really have much need for him. But with that being said, here, the best option on your waiver wire is like Trey Tucker. Then after that, Caleb Johnson, Tank Bigsby. You don't have great names. So I'm completely fine if we want to hold on to Jordan Love. Going over and looking at what we have at running back. We have Amari Hampton, Travis Etienne, Jalen Warren. So 3 running backs that we can feel very excited to start every single week going into the future. Maybe I would be a little hesitant thinking that Caleb Johnson eventually one of these days could start getting involved in Pittsburgh. But for the time being, he looks like he is not a threat whatsoever. So in reality, we have 3 running backs. Skill positional depth here is going to matter a decent amount. The reason being is this is a league in which you can start up to 6 combined running backs and wide receivers weekly. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have 4 wide receivers that we can jam in every single week. We have the combination of Neighbors, A.J. Brown, George Pickens, as well as Ibuka. And then we have Troy Franklin, wide receiver 5, Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver 6. If you have a fab system, I'm not going to go like overboard doing this, but I would potentially consider going through and letting go of Kayshon Boutte, who, I mean, just simply hasn't had a ton of volume over the past 2 weeks. The man's had 3 receptions. And I would drop Boutte. I would pick up Trey Tucker. I don't think I would go nuts with the fab bid, but it is a pivot that I would look to make. And then going over to tight end, we have Kelsey as well as Harold Fannin. I still need to do the overhaul with the tight end rankings on the site, but I think at this point, I'm going to be moving Kelsey down quite dramatically. Like, I think I would rather have Pitts over Kelsey at this point. I think I'd rather have Juwan Johnson over Kelsey because Kelsey's not producing with no Worthy. He's not producing with no Rashee Rice. So once these guys come back, like, I have no idea how the hell you could ever plan on getting Travis Kelsey into your starting lineup. But having Harold Fannin with him as well, it's like we have some upside here at tight end. But overall, this is an incredible team. I would say, obviously, this team looked much worse a week ago than it does right now. Like, the CeeDee Lamb and the Najee Harris injuries really propel us to that top spot in the league analyzer in terms of future value. If this was a league where you only started 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, I would say it'd probably be worth it for us to go ahead and for us to potentially try to sell, like, say, George Pickens and Travis Kelsey to get to an elite level tight end. But because we can start a combined 6 running backs and receivers here weekly, especially as we're approaching the bye weeks, I like the fact that we have 7 guys that we're excited to start. Now, if Joe Mixon does come back in soon, then at that point, we are probably fine going through and looking to sell the depth piece like Jaylen Warren with Travis Kelsey to get the elite tight end. But for now, you don't need to make any trades. You're in a really comfortable spot. I think we leave this as is. I really appreciate you. I really hope I was able to help you out in some way here. But again, like I said, I think your team really benefited from the injuries this week, and I don't think there's much to discuss. Now, let's move this over to our next team. This is going to be Chase B. Chase, appreciate you and excited to check this out for you. Coming into the week, we were 0-2. However, we are currently 3rd in this league in terms of future value. Let me send you over some free questions just in case there's anything that you want to follow up with this team. Saying, am I cooked? First time doing fantasy, definitely learning a lot. What can we do from here? And then any starting recommendations. So obviously this is going to be very different than it otherwise would have been. But pulling this up, I will say that quarterback and tight end going to matter a ton in this league because it's a league in which you can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So QB, tight end scores, naturally you're going to count for a very high percentage of our starting lineup output weekly. Wide receiver depth isn't going to matter much in a league like this. And for that reason, I really would advocate for potentially not rostering this many wide receivers. Like, you have 6 viable wide receivers at this point. Like, a player like Quentin Johnson, DK Metcalf, Marvin Harrison, like, they're going to have a hard time even hitting your starting lineup. So you're leaving a lot of points. You're leaving a lot of value on this bench that I think you could probably eventually pivot over to a different position, whether that's going to be quarterback, whether that's going to be running back, whether that's going to be tight ends. If this was a league in which you had a couple flex spots, then maybe we're fine holding on to this because it's a full PPR format. So if we were looking at your team in particular, I think you got to go out there and you got to start making some trades. You got to start making some moves. The first thing that I'd recommend is just cut Jayden Reed. There's no world in which Jayden Reed's making an impact on your team. If you have him in the IR slot, then you can cut Jayden Reed, pick up Joe Mixon in a league like yours. The second thing is, depending on what happens in the game tonight, I would be very quick to cut Mark Andrews and pick up Hunter Henry as well. Again, Mark Andrews, I know we haven't seen what he does tonight against the Detroit Lions, but the guy has 7 receiving yards so far this season. So I would cut Andrews. I'd pick up Hunter Henry. I'd cut Jaden Reed. I'd pick up Joe Mixon. And then I'd still look to try to make some of these trades. Now, obviously, like the easy thing to say is like, oh, let's go ahead and let's trade Quentin Johnston. But in reality, I don't think anybody's actually going to be paying you a decent price for him. I think if you were to go through and sell a depth wide receiver, you're going to have to do so with somebody that has some name value. I think you're going to have to do so by selling Marv, selling DK Metcalf. And I would love to package together one of these wide receivers with Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt to go out there and try to get an upgrade at the running back position for our RB2. I would be interested as well if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to try to package together like Marv and Patrick Mahomes to try to go get a better quarterback. But the issue is in terms of the quarterbacks, you're going to be a little bit limited in terms of the players that are like true elite level names. In my opinion, there are only like 4 elite quarterbacks in fantasy. That's Lamar, that's Allen, that's Daniels, that's Hurts. And I wouldn't expect anybody to be willing to send you one of those for like Mahomes and a depth wide receiver. But again, I think you need to make those 2 waiver wire pivots at the very minimum. And then I would try to follow that up with potentially cutting Mark Andrews, picking up Hunter Henry, and on top of that, going through and cutting Jaden Reed, picking up Joe Mixon. And then I would add Jordan Addison and Matthew Golden to the watch list to see what they are doing over the next few weeks. And they would possibly be our next pickups. But I sending you over some free questions. In terms of how we would be submitting this starting lineup over the next few weeks, I would say like AJ Brown, Rome, Jacoby are probably our 2 wide receiver flex starts every week. We have McCaffrey in at running back. You're going to be playing the matchups between Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt, David Montgomery. Quarterback, we have Mahomes. Tight end, you're going to be going with probably Hunter Henry if you can drop Andrews and pick up Henry. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, like I said, I sent you over those free questions. So if there's anything else that you wanted me to take a look at, I'd be super happy to try to help you out in any way I can here, my friend. But thank you again for everything. And yeah, best of luck this season. McCaffrey should cover up a decent amount of holes. Now, let's move this over to our next question here. This one's going to be from C. Buffett. Says, hey, Mason, traded Rice for Brown today. Looking good. I'm worried about what I'm going to do for week 9. $1,000 buy-in home league. Hoping to make a playoff push. Let me know if there are any trades, pickups to make. Few teams are yard sailing early, so I can probably capitalize on some trades. So first thing is, I'll say, don't worry about like having too many players on a week 9 bye. There's a lot of season from now to week 9. Clearly your league mates are making trades. You maybe make another trade or 2 by the time you get to that point. And on top of that, I mean, the amount of waiver wire pivots that you will make over the next 5 weeks, your team, at least on the bench as well, is going to look very, very different. So I'm never worried about like a future bye week when we're looking at this. But anyway, what I am worried about is, actually, no, thank God. I couldn't see where our team was in the league analyzer, but we're up here at 3. We are 1-1 coming into this past week. This is a league in which you can get in a ton of skill positional starters. It's a 10-team start 9 format. So if the league analyzer is correct there, that means we can start up to 7 running back and wide receivers combined weekly. And here we have Derrick Henry, Chase Brown as startable running backs. We have A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Egbuka, Ricky Pearsall, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Quentin Johnston as startable wide receivers. So those are 8 startable names. However, obviously we have the Mike Evans injury. We are told that Chris Godwin's going to come back this next week, but by no means is that a guarantee. So if we're looking at what we have here currently, I would say if this was a start 7 format where you only started 2 wide receivers and a flex, I would be very interested in going through and trying to sell a wide receiver, trying to sell Ricky Pearsall with Chase Brown to get a running back upgrade, trying to sell Chris Godwin with Baker Mayfield to try to get an upgrade at quarterback. But we're not doing that here. In a start 9 format, I absolutely love how we are sitting here with all this wide receiver depth. I think the only thing to do is be very aggressive on the waiver wire. For me, I would strongly consider here in a league where you can start this many receivers. I think looking at Jalen Waddle he'll actually make a difference in a format like this, where I would be interested in going through and cutting potentially Harold Fannin if you can't sell him. Like, obviously, if we have McBride, our gut reaction is going to be trying to sell Harold Fannin, but it's a 10-team format, so I'd be surprised if we can get a ton for him. I mean, this team down here at the bottom is Dallas Goedert, Evan Ingram. Maybe they'd be interested in Harold Fannin. If you could try to send Harold Fannin and pick up, like, I don't know, send Harold Fannin and Chris Godwin, Harold Fannin, Mike Evans, and go get Tyreek Hill, that'd be interesting. If you could sit in Harold Fannin and A.J. Brown and go get Jackson Smith and Jigba, that'd be interesting as well. This team is Travis Kelce as their only tight end. Obviously, Kelce looks very bad at this point. If you could send Harold Fannin and A.J. Brown for either Malik Neighbors or Nico Collins, that'd be very interesting. Harold Fannin and Mike Evans or Chris Godwin for Garrett Wilson, that'd be very interesting. This team is Hawk and Andrews. If you could try to send them Harold Fannin and Chase Brown to go get James Cook, obviously that'd be an absolute no-brainer, much easier said than done. If you could try to send them Harold Fannin and Derrick Henry to go out there and get Saquon Barkley, I would do that as well. Because ultimately for you, like, you are so damn strong that really that 2-for-1 deal is the only thing that's appealing, as well as the fact that we can go over and we can look at what we have on waivers. And Trey Benson and Jalen Waddle are both out there. So this week in particular, it is time to unload the fab budget. If you had a bunch of fab dollars left over, and that is the waiver wire format that you use, you blow your load trying to pick up Trey Benson. Obviously, we can just drop James Conner. James Conner done for the year. You go out swinging for Benson. Like, this is the league-winning waiver wire option this season. If you can't get Trey Benson, again, I would want to open up a roster spot to pick up Jalen Waddle because we have the Mike Evans injury here as well, and this is a league where you can start a ton of wide receivers, but we have a ton of wide receiver depth as well. So, ultimately, the only thing that I would do with a team as strong as yours is I would look to try to sell Harold Fannin in a 2-for-1 upgrade anywhere on this roster to open up a roster spot. And then obviously I want to be aggressive with Trey Benson on the waiver wire. And then also Jalen Waddle is very appealing given your league settings. But I really appreciate you. I really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And I do want to reiterate as well that if this was a league where you only started 2 wide receivers in a flex, then of course I'd be a lot more worried about having this many viable wide receivers. And I'd rather just try to trade a receiver for a quarterback. But for your format, I think you're in a good spot. Now let's move this over to our next team. This one's going to be Amir. Says, hey Mason, can you please review my squad when you get a chance? Are there any players/positions I should be targeting to get my current roster? Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you, my guy. Excited to check this out. Here we are currently 4th in the league analyzer in terms of future value. Coming into this week, however, we are 1st in the league in terms of total fantasy points. But it looks like we did get a knock with Lad McConkey falling down the ranks. It looks like there's a good shot we lost this week as well, knowing that we had Michael Penix, and obviously Michael Penix was no bueno. So we could be 1-2 at this point, but going into the future, quarterback, we have Justin Fields. Obviously, I'm not that excited with Fields from a real life perspective, but from a fantasy football perspective, he can still go out there and he can still run the ball. So I think we are completely fine having Fields here at quarterback. Obviously, we're not pumped, but it's a start 8 league, right? So quarterback is going to make up a slightly smaller percentage of your starting lineup output, as opposed to if this was a league in which you only started 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. Now, looking at what we have at running back, we have 2 anchors. We have the combination of Bijan Robinson as well as Devon Achane. Going over and looking at Cam Skattebo as our RB3, we actually really need Scat on a team like this because outside of Bijan and Achane, we had no running back depth outside of just pure handcuffs. So it actually is really nice being able to get him as a viable play post Tyrone Tracy injury for your roster. Going over and looking at what we have with the wide receivers, we have Rashee Rice here for the long term. Obviously, we don't have Rice yet. We have Ladd McConkey, disappointing, but still quality wide receiver 2 once you do get Rashee Rice in at wide receiver 1. We have Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver 3. We have Deebo Samuel, wide receiver 4. Quentin Johnston, wide receiver 5. And then we have Marvin Mims down here at the bottom. For me personally, I don't think Marvin Mims ever hits your starting lineup at this point. I would go ahead and I would be fine moving on from Marvin Mims. And I would be willing to just go through and cut Mims for Trey Tucker if you were able to get Tucker off the waiver wire. Looking at Sam Laporta at tight end, it's whatever. Obviously, we'll see what he does tonight, but going into tonight's game, I mean, you had one solid week against the Packers, one dud week against the Bears when the Detroit Lions offense went nuclear, so it was a little disappointing to see how Laporta wasn't able to produce like the rest of the offense, but nonetheless. Then going over and looking at the waiver wire, the only interesting player to pick up, in my opinion, would probably be Trey Tucker. I mean, if you really wanted to go out there and cut Michael Penix for like Stafford, Geno, I'm not going to fault you whatsoever. Clearly, Michael Penix looked very, very bad this past week against the Carolina Panthers. Now, looking at what we could potentially do with this roster, trade-wise, it's a start 8 format, so the depth is going to matter a bit more. Now, with that being said, it's not like we are in a situation in which we need to just absolutely load up on a ton of wide receivers in particular. It looks like it's a half PPR league, so running backs would be very interesting here in the flex spot. Like, you're probably going to be throwing Cam Scat in the flex spot every week going into the future. So looking at like a trade piece that we could actually get value out of, like, I don't see one, because the thing is, you can't afford to sell one of your depth wide receivers yet, because for the time being, we're still waiting. Like, we have no Rashee Rice yet. Once Rice comes back in, then at that point, maybe we can go ahead and at that point, maybe we could try to sell like Ricky Pearsall in a combination with Justin Fields to go get a quarterback that we're more excited about. But if you were to go out there and if you were to sell the depth wide receiver right now, you would put yourself in a very compromising position where we just simply wouldn't have enough players to throw into the flexes. So I don't think you can make it trade. I think you cut Mims, you pick up Trey Tucker in the long term. Once Rashee Rice comes back in, then maybe at that point we look to go ahead and we look to sell a wide receiver with Justin Fields to go get a quarterback that we're a little more excited about. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way. Now, let me set you up with some free questions just in case there's anything else that you want us to follow up with. And let me know when we hit 200 likes on the stream, then we'll go ahead and we'll send over some free questions to people in the chat. We'll do free questions every 100 likes in this live stream, but we already missed the 100 like mark, so we'll just wait for 200 and we'll just send out a bunch of free questions. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and let's dive this review into Speedy Gonzalez. Okay. 16-team Dynasty League. Okay, if this is a Dynasty format, Chief, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to I'll do that in a Dynasty live stream. Let's do B. Henley instead here. Says, appreciate your help, brother. This is the money league for your boy, and I'm mainly worried about my quarterback and running back depth. Well, appreciate you, my guy. Excited to check this out. Let me send you over some free questions before I forget. So this is Jetta's cooking that yayo. Okay. I mean, I'm going to assume that isn't something that I shouldn't say out loud, but no idea what the hell that means. We are currently second in the league analyzer in terms of future value. Coming into this week, we were 2-0, fourth in the league in total points scored. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So with this being a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, like you are in a really fortunate spot that you don't need to worry too much about wide receiver depth. Like you can exploit these league settings. You can sell wide receivers and just go get upgrades at running back, quarterback, and tight end. Now, looking at what we have at QB, we have Daniel Jones, we have Dak Prescott. If we're looking at Dak, I'm not going to be super excited to start him with no CeeDee Lamb over the next few weeks, but the alternatives on the waiver wire aren't compelling, so I'd be A-okay with you wanting to just sit here and wait for what we have with CeeDee Lamb coming back, and we start Daniel Jones for now. Now, going over and looking at what we have at running back, we have James Cook, Chase Brown, Trey Benson, Cam Scat. So my guy, your team just hit the lottery. Trey Benson and Cam Scatterboot both popping off same week, turning into must-start names. Obviously, Chase Brown sliding back dramatically with the Joe Burrow injury, and this offense just looking absolutely garbage. Going over to wide receiver, we have Jefferson, Rome as locks every week. Devontae Adams is a quality flex play. We have Rice in the long term, Higgins as well. So I know there's a waiver wire move that we want to make here at the very minimum. You're cutting Dimey Brown. When would you ever put Dimey Brown into your starting lineup? Never. It would literally never happen. If it was best ball, sure, maybe it gives you a couple usable random weeks, but you're never going to be able to predict when that occurs. So I would cut Dimey Brown. I would either pick up Trey Tucker, Luther Burden, or I would pick up a premium handcuff running back, whether that's Ray Davis or Braylon Allen or Blake Cora, whoever you want there at RB. Now, beyond that, since this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, you have the ability to sell some of this depth. Like I would be approaching the teams that just lost running backs. Let me sort the league analyzer by the teams that are worst at RB. This team, Pacheco's dust. They're starting Jalen Ward and J.K. Dobbins. They have no tight end. I'm assuming you have to start a tight end in your league because everybody else is rostering one. They have Lamar Jackson, though. Is there any world in which we can send Chase Brown and Daniel Jones for Lamar Jackson? If so, it would be an absolute no-brainer. This team here has Javonte Chuba. They just lost Tyron Tracy, so they have no RB3. Is there any world in which we can send Daniel Jones and Chase Brown for Jalen Hurts? They have Malik Neighbors as well. Could we possibly send Chase Brown and Devontae Adams for Malik Neighbors? Let's go for it. This team here has Tyler Algier as their running back 3. Could we send Chase Brown and T. Higgins for Jamar Chase? If this is a league where you have to start a tight end, could we send Chase Brown and Sam Laporta for Brock Bowers? This team lost Aaron Jones. They have no running back 2 right now. Could we send them, say, Chase Brown and T. Higgins for A.J. Brown? Or Trey Benson, T. Higgins for A.J. Brown? Cam Scat, T. Higgins for A.J. Brown. This team obviously has Amari Hampton skyrocketing up. Chad just told us that Najee Harris officially torn Achilles. We had already moved Najee down to RB95 in our ranks. We had already nuked him. But they have no RB3 at this point. They lost James Conner and Najee. Is there any world in which we can send them Trey Benson and Justin Jefferson for Puka Nacua? Like, your team's phenomenal. You already had plenty of depth. Our depth's only going to get better now that we have Trey Benson and Cam Scat turning into actual running backs that we can start every single week. I would be trying to go through and approach those teams that are lacking running back depth, offering them a running back for us to get an upgrade elsewhere inside the starting lineup. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thank you so much for being a member of the vlog. Let me triple check to make sure that I sent you over some of those free questions. Yes, sir, I did. All right, let's move this over to our next one. This is Jace Barbie says, just traded AJ Brown for Bowers 1-for-1. What should I do with Hawk? Any other moves I can make on the team? So I have TJ Hawkinson on my own fantasy football team. Obviously, if we are looking at Hawk, there's nothing that we could do in terms of selling him. Thank God he came through and gave us a decent performance. Without his decent performance, I probably would have lost this week. I still may lose. I don't know, but TJ Hawkinson's like tied in 13 in our rest of season rankings. The dude is sitting here with what? Like a total of 76 receiving yards this season. He's probably still averaging less than 1 yard per route run. So if you could, I'm in favor. Let's go through and let's try to sell TJ Hawkinson in a package with legitimately anybody to legitimately get an upgrade anywhere. But it is much easier said than done. I would imagine that we actually are going to have a hard time doing that. Looking at what we have with tight ends off the waiver wire, like Hunter Henry, I have higher than TJ Hawkinson in my rankings rest of season. I don't know who has Hunter Henry in the flock league, but if they're watching this and they want to send me Hunter Henry for TJ Hawkinson, by all means, send the offer over and I'll accept it on Tuesday. Now, looking at Brock Bowers, even with the knee injury where he's looking a little bit worse, is still going to be a must-start player every single week. Now, going over to the skill positions, this is going to be something that's very important. This is a start 8 format. Because this is a start 8 league, depth is going to matter at the skill positions. We just lost Mike Evans. So if we're looking at what we can potentially do when it comes to just filling out a starting lineup, like we have Walker, Etienne, Pollard as 3 starters. We lost Lamb too. My guy, you are toast. You just lost Lamb, Evans on a team where our wide receiver 3 was Matthew Golden. Yeah, and we have Brandon Ayuk. Like, if there aren't quality names on the waiver wire that we can just go out there and pick up, yeah, and there are no waiver wire wide receivers. Your league's mates look like they know what they're doing. So I am sorry to say this. You have no other option but to sell CeeDee Lamb for any wide receiver that you can. Going through and looking at the updated rankings that I have, I put CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver 9. If you could sell Lamb for any wide receiver ahead of him, including Drake London, Nico Collins, JSN, Jefferson, Chase, Neighbors, St. Brown, Puka. Obviously, you would send Lamb for any of these names. But I think you even have to be willing to take a loss on CeeDee Lamb. If you had the Lamb and Evans injury on the same team. And of course, like I already said, I mean, I'm saying this as somebody who has TJ Hawkinson on their own roster as well. But TJ Hawkinson, pretty much useless here. So TJ Hawkinson, send him with CeeDee Lamb if it's going to get you something. Like if somebody goes like, oh, Drake London versus CeeDee Lamb's real close for me. By all means, like throw him in. It doesn't matter whatsoever. I would even take a loss. I'd sell CeeDee Lamb for A.J. Brown or Rome Odunze on your team. Mike Evans, we don't have official word on how long he's going to be missing, but I would sell Mike Evans on your team specifically for any wide receiver in Tier E. Myers, Terry, Pearsall, Debo, Harrison, DK, J-Mo, Higgins. Obviously, I prefer somebody in the above tiers. But when you get decimated to this extent, you have no option but to sell your injured players, even at a loss. Which I'm sorry to say that. Obviously, I don't want to say that, but I do think it's the situation that you're ultimately in. And obviously, if you have a team where your wide receiver room's deep and it's not like all of a sudden Matthew Golden becomes your wide receiver one, then you don't need to sell CeeDee Lamb at a loss. But this team already was lacking wide receiver depth, and its top two wide receivers got yeah, like, I'm sorry. And then throw TJ Hawkinson in to get absolutely anything here. And then, of course, if you could sell Caleb Williams for a wide receiver, I would, and just stream quarterback. Go pick up Daniel Jones, go pick up Purdy, I would. But it's going to be much easier said than done. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. But it looks like we just hit 200 likes on the stream, so let's go ahead and let's send a couple people some free questions. Obviously, we're sending out free questions in every single live stream. All you got to do to get them is, one, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'm live streaming answering fantasy football questions every single day until Christmas. And two, drop a like and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. It's completely free to set up an account. Just set it up with code FLOCK. That way I can find you on my users page if you win the questions. But Cody says, when are the questions going to come online? So right now, how the questions are turned on the site is anybody can buy or send in a free voucher for a team review. Anybody can send in a free voucher for a trade or a start sit. But we are going to wait until we can get through all the team reviews on this page before we turn on the ability to buy a start sit or a trade. So that's just going to take a little bit of time for me to catch up on everything. But let's send over some free questions. We got McCurry winning the first free question here. Appreciate hanging out with us in this live stream, my friend. Let me see if I can find you on the site. Two C's, not one. Just found you and just sent you over that free. I'm going to send you over a free trade question. Today, let's send out free trade questions rather than start sit questions since it's a Monday. And let's send this one out for Fop Yak or Foppy Yak, something like that. Just found you on the site and just sent you over a free trade. Appreciate hanging out with us, my guy. And let's keep this show on the road. Let me send you over some free questions as well as Jace, just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with on this team. But obviously you were decimated, and I think it's just time to realize it sucks, but we got to sell our players at a loss. Now let's move this over to Colony Honda. Says, hello, it's my first time doing this, so thank you. This 12-team Start 8 PPR league. I'm 1-1 with one of the lowest points for, and I don't think my team's that bad. Any suggestions on what I should change? Thank you, and have a nice day. Thank you so much. Super excited to check out your team for you. I'm going to send you over some free questions just in case there's anything that you want to follow up with me from this little review. So we are Call Me Maybe. I actually like the team name. I have not seen that one before. I'm going to assume that this is a one quarterback format. skimming through, it does look like most people are rostering 2 QBs, but if it was a super flex league, I would bet that CJ Stroud, Matthew Stafford would be rostered. Now, obviously, a couple of the quarterbacks that we are rostering at the moment with Brock Purdy, Joe Burrow are injured, so I understand that you kind of had to have, at least at the very minimum, somebody like a Drake May here so we can start in the short term. But I will say, if you are going to be looking at what you have with rostering both Brock Purdy and Joe Burrow, I'm fine with it if like Burrow's on your IR, but if you're having to roster Burrow actually on your bench, I would rather just go ahead and I would honestly just cut him. Looking at what we have with May and Purdy into the future, though, I mean, they are quality quarterbacks that we can play the matchups with weekly. Like, both quarterbacks give you a little bit of rushing upside. Both quarterbacks are exciting as well. Now, moving over to what we have with running back. We have Kyron, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason, Byshell Tuden, Blake Corum, and Tajee Spears. So running back, really good spot. I would kind of say a similar thing to what we were talking about with Spears when it comes to Burrow. Like, if he's on your actual bench, I would look to go ahead and I would look to cut Spears. But if he's on the IR, then obviously you can hold on to him. And I would be looking to pick up Tyler Algier regardless. Just because if we are looking at Algier, if you were to get an injury to Bijan Robinson, I'm pretty damn confident he's going to be a league winner. I would cut Spears for him, or I'd cut Blake Corum for him. Come in here. Come on. And then looking at what we have with wide receiver, we have Jefferson, we have London, we have Debo, we have Devonta Smith. It's a league in which you can start 4 wide receivers weekly. I mean, it's a start 8 full PPR format. So realistically, I like having the wide receiver depth here. Looking at what we have at tight ends, Tucker Kraft, yes, disappointing this past week, but realistically going into the future, I think Kraft is going to be just fine. I mean, for him to play with the knee injury, I think they honestly maybe wouldn't have even asked him to play if they didn't also had to be dealing with the Jaden Reed stuff. But let me go ahead and figure out what we can do from here. I think the first thing that I have to mention will just be the waiver wire pivots, right? Where if we're going to be looking at what we have when it comes to the waiver wire, the best option here is going to be Travis Hunter. I would drop Kayshon Boutte for Travis Hunter relatively easily. I mean, if you are looking at Boutte over the past 2 weeks, the man's had a total of 3 receptions. So while Travis Hunter doesn't have the exact role that we are wanting to see, Travis Hunter is still getting more volume than Kayshon Boutte. And I would still believe that Travis Hunter is the better player between the two. Now, looking at trades with this team is going to be interesting. Because again, this is a league in which the skill positional depth is going to matter a decent amount. It's a league in which you can start up to 6 running backs and wide receivers weekly. And we have Kyron, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason as must-start running backs. We have Jefferson, London, and then we have like Debo, Devonta Smith as depth pieces. So like realistically, it's not like you have crazy depth where we could very easily say like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go through and let's just trade Debo Samuel and Drake May to get a better QB. Let's trade Debo Samuel and Kyron Williams to get a better RB1. Because it's a start 8 format, especially as we approach the bye weeks, I actually do like the fact that you are sitting here with that kind of depth. So I actually think I really like the way that your team is situated. Again, we're 3rd in the league analyzer in terms of future value. Really, the only thing that I would really be looking to do is I would cut Kayshon Boutte for Travis Hunter. I would be very aggressive with doing that as well. And then I would also cut Blake Corum for Tyler Algier. However, if either Joe Burrow or Tajee Spears were not on your IR and instead they were actually on your active roster, then they would be the cuts instead. But I'm going to assume that both those players are on your IR, so obviously you're not able to cut them. They're not taking up roster spots. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, I sent you over those free questions. So if there's anything else that you wanted to follow up with, I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you. But it looks like we hit 300 likes on the stream. So let's go ahead and let's send somebody else in the chat another free question. So all you got to do to get those free questions again will be to drop a like on the live stream. Be subscribed to the channel. We're giving out free questions in every single stream. You can see the majority of the questions that we answer in these live streams are the free ones. And then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. And I'd be super happy to send you out some free questions. But as we wait for you to get your usernames in the chat, let's move over to our next team. This is going to be from K9XS. Says 0-2, fourth most points scored, but most points scored on. I feel like that's purely unlucky. Okay, we got to take some accountability here, my friend. You need to learn to play good fantasy football defense. You need to get in the mind of your opponents, mess with them, and make sure they stop scoring so many points. My really only hole is quarterback 2, especially when Rashee Rice comes back. Stash Mason in both leagues. I'm 2-0 in my other one, but need a huge week in major win here. Maybe trade Marv, just not sure what to do roster-wise. All right, super excited to take a look at this for you, my friend, but let's look at where we are at in terms of future value with this roster. Future value with this team. Quarterback, we are 3rd. Running back, we are 1st. Wide receiver, we are 1st. And tight end, we are 8th. You are in an incredible spot. But let me real quick send out somebody a free question in the chat. Let's send this over to RockChalk82. Let me see if I can find you on the site, my friends. Just found you and just sent you over that free start sit. And I want to remind everybody that it's completely free to set up an account on flockfantasy.com. And there are actually a lot of free things that you can do on the site as well. Just make sure you use code FLOCK when you sign up. That way, if you win a free question, I can go ahead and I can find you on my account page or my users page. But let's also address one thing here with this Gibby's team. This is a team in a league in which you start 9 players, but it's a super flex format. So 2 of those are going to be QB. One of those is going to be tight end. So we are starting a combined 6 running backs and wide receivers here weekly. For the time being, Gibbs, Kamara, Jordan Mason, must start players. Puka Nacua, George Pickens, Devontae Adams, probably must start names. So you're telling me on our bench, we have Quinshon Judkins, we have Rashee Rice, we have Ricky Pearsall, we have Marvin Harrison, we have J.K. Dobbins. We have so much value on this team, so much depth at running back and wide receiver that you need to go out there and you need to look to sell a depth running back, sell a depth wide receiver to go get an improvement at quarterback or tight end. I would say the first thing we're going to do is just go through and attack some of these teams that are bad at running back. Let's use the league analyzer. Let's sort to the teams that are worst at RB. This team is Genty Trevion as their RB1 and RB2. J.K. Dobbins could actually be an interesting name for this team. Or honestly, F it, who freaking cares? You have so many running backs. Make the play for the elite tight end like Trey McBride. Offer that team that's garbage at running back, Alvin Kamara and Zach Ertz for Trey McBride. See what they say. Okay. Let's move this over. This team has Jacobs, Javonte Chuba, but then no depth beyond that. Hell, can we go through and can we offer them Quinshon Judkins and Zach Ertz for Tyler Warren? Can we offer them Quinshon Judkins and CJ Stroud for Bo Nix? I would also send that offer for Drake May from this team. Again, this is a super flex or a 2 quarterback format. Looking at what we have with this Bill Belichick team, they're okay at running back, but still, I'll go through and your team's so loaded that, can we try to send Alvin Kamara and CJ Stroud for Jaden Daniels. Can we try to send J.K. Dobbins and Devontae Adams for Jamar Chase? This team, can we try to send them a 2-for-1 upgrade where we send Quinshon Judkins and J.K. Dobbins for Amari and Hampton? Just across the board, you have to make a trade with your team. You have to try what you can do to sell your depth running backs and or your depth wide receivers to get upgrades inside the starting lineup, whether that's 2-for-1 deals at the same position, 2-for-1 deals at other positions. Sell the depth, get upgrades at the very top because your team is absolutely loaded here. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my guy. And let me just triple check to make sure that we send you over those free questions. That way, if there's anything that you want to follow up with this team, I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you. Now, let's move this over to Lions. This looks like it's going to be a dynasty format, so we'll save that for a dedicated dynasty live stream. We can check this out for Andrew. Let me go ahead and pull this up on the My Reviews page real quick. We're going to have to share it there. But it says, I'm 0-2, took Lamar in the third, was forced to take Henderson to the fourth because all the running backs were gone. One league mate wants Lamar, is willing to give up Rashee Rice and Jordan Mason for him. Tell him no. Tell him. I was not going to say the next thing I was going to say, but no. You want Lamar Jackson on this team. Now, the thing that we just had play out this week with Trevion Henderson is and also this is an ESPN league, so you should be able to link your ESPN account with the site. So I should be able to get more information and stuff on your teams if you wanted to send in another question in the future. But anyway, looking at this, it is a league in which you only start 2 receivers in a flex. So because you only start 2 wide receivers in a flex here, you are highly incentivized to have the elite quarterback, to have the elite onesies, because running back and wide receiver depth is not going to be as important. So I really like having Lamar on your team. Going down to your bench, we don't have another quarterback, which obviously is perfect. Looking at what we have at running back, we have Kyron RB1, it's a whatever RB1. We have Trevion RB2, it's a whatever RB2. Obviously, it looked much worse coming into the week, but now that you have the Ramadre fumbles, you have Antonio Gibson fumbling as well. It does look like Trevion Henderson for sure is going to be a more viable option going into the future. And then going down and looking at the bench, we have Zach Charbonnet. We have RJ Harvey for the long term as well. So here's going to be my issue with your team primarily. We have to go through and we have to cut some of these depth wide receivers. Going over to receiver, we have Jefferson, Pickens. I would be starting Ricky Pearsall over Travis Hunter personally. But then Ricky Pearsall in the flex, Travis Hunter wide receiver 4. So when do you ever get Kayshon Boutte in your starting lineup? When do you ever get Troy Franklin into your lineup? When do you ever get Romeo Doubs into your lineup? I don't know. I would frankly go out and instead, I would cut the running backs. I would cut the wide receivers and I would look to prioritize running backs off the waiver wire that are potentially an injury away. The George Pickens emergence with no CeeDee Lamb looks like it's really going to benefit you. So, wide receiver 2 looks great. Tight end, I would love to get a better tight end. I'd love to make a trade to try to go improve from either Chig or Andrews. If Hunter Henry's on your waiver wire, for the love of God, go get Hunter Henry. But to be honest with you, Chief, you can't afford to go out there and trade for a better tight end because who's expendable on your bench? Travis Hunter is going to be the best player on your bench, and nobody is trading for Travis Hunter at the moment. So I think the only thing to do with your team, I would not panic sell Lamar Jackson. Like Lamar Jackson in a shallow league like this can just straight up win you some weeks by himself. But I would probably go ahead and just cut the bench wide receivers for bench running backs and call it a day. But let me send you over some free questions just in case there's anything that you wanted to follow up with this team. I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you, my guy. But yeah, don't panic sell Lamar here, please. Now let's move this over to Mystery Girl. Always see you out in the live stream. Really appreciate you hanging out with us. Says, league is trade stingy, but open to your ideas. Use my top waiver wire pick for Sharp or save it for later in the season. If so, who are we going to drop and any other thoughts? This is a 12-team format. So I'd say in general, Zach Charbonnet is definitely the best option on the waiver wire here, and it's not even remotely close. And yeah, it would be fine. Like our other options on waivers are like Darnell Mooney, Trey Tucker, Ray Davis. It looks like your league mates really know what they're doing. So I would use our top waiver wire priority on Zach Charbonnet, and I'd probably just go ahead and cut Justice Hill. But let's dive into this. And I already know this is going to be an incredible team. I mean, we are sitting here number 1 in the league analyzer. We are 2-0 coming into this week. Then we just had Nico Collins go nuts, Rome Odunze go nuts, Christian McCaffrey go nuts, Travis Etienne perform well. So I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if you are sitting here at 3-0 at this point. But looking at what we have at quarterback's going to be incredibly important because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where obviously we want to be building around the elite QB, the elite tight end. Skill positional depth's not going to matter as much. So we have Lamar, absolutely love to see it. We have Tyler Warren, absolutely love to see it. And almost nothing to discuss whatsoever here. Perfect. Now, looking at what we have at running back, CMC gives you a significant edge over the rest of the position. Like, the league analyzer is telling us that we have the best running back room in this league, primarily just because we have McCaffrey. We have Travis Etienne, RB2. Running back depth is definitely the shakiest thing on our roster. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, so depth isn't going to matter much here. So I would just simply go ahead. I would cut Justice Hill. I'd pick up Zach Sharps. Looking at what we have with wide receiver, we have Nico, Rome, Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall, an automatic jam in the flex. We have T. Higgins, Xavier Worthy as bench upside shots that we can go through the bye weeks with. But nobody's really going to be buying Worthy. Nobody's really going to be buying Higgins at the moment. What could we do? I love your team. You may be number 1 in your league standings right now. You may be number 1 in the league analyzer and future value. I think you're optimized for your format. The only thing I would do is I would drop Justice Hill. I'd pick up Zach Charbonnet. If T. Higgins and Xavier Worthy come back and they start producing, then maybe at that point you can look to go ahead and you can look to sell a receiver for a running back depth piece. But until then, you just simply don't need to. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thank you so much for hanging out with us in this stream. And Treyman says, it's me, Mystery Girl. Mostly worried about that running back depth. Owner of Brees wants to trade. If you were looking at a trade for Brees, if you're fine with like T. Higgins, if you're fine with T. Higgins being in your flex, I would be willing to sell like Ricky Pearsall and Pacheco for Brees Hall. Obviously, I would also sell T. Higgins and Pacheco for Brees. I'd sell Worthy and Pacheco for Brees. I just would be surprised if the owner actually accepts that. I would not sell Rome Odunze for Brees Hall at this point. Obviously, not Nico Collins. I think Travis Etienne and Brees Hall are about the same. I'm not adding anything to Etienne to get to Brees. So if you were going to make a trade for Brees, it really just does hinge on, like, would they accept Higgins and Pacheco? Would they accept Worthy and Pacheco for Brees? And the reason I was like, I agree, running back depth's definitely the weakest part of your team. But I just don't know how easy it's going to be to trade for it, considering what we have with the Higgins and Worthy meltdown with their value. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out. And I do think that you truly have like an incredible team here. Now, we're going to move this over to La Vida Chasin. Excited to check this out. Says, hey Mason, congrats on the engagement. I'm 0-2 and really need a win this week. Let me know what adjustments I need to do. Excited to check this. All right. This is a... Oh, sorry. I'm having to pull this up on the other screen since there are screenshots. This is an ESPN league, so you should be able to link your team with the site. Treyman says, my kid's now a TSIP. So, Hook, what's a TSIP? Let me look this up real quick. I'm interested. And as I do this, I will stall by reminding you, if you haven't already, go down there and hit the like button. And when we hit 400 likes, we'll go ahead and we'll give out some more free questions. What is TSIP? For kids' college. Okay, I have no idea what this is, but hook 'em horns. If your kid can go to UT, I would highly recommend it. I think UT is a great school. At least it was for me. But we got La Vida Chasin. Let's go ahead. Let's pull this up. And after we check this team out, Treyman says, sorry, I'm an Aggie. We call y'all T-Sips. She loves Austin. Oh, okay. I'll be honest. If you're an Aggie, I don't want to talk some trash here, but. And I had a bunch of friends who went to A&M. Like the majority of my friends from high school went to Texas A&M. I toured A&M, thought I was maybe going to go there or UT. I didn't know which one I preferred. Like I didn't have a big preference in high school, but it is funny that like I know everybody at A&M talks about UT, but when I was at UT, not a single soul like ever mentioned A&M unless it was like, oh, I'm going to College Station to see some friends, or oh, I have a friend coming from College Station. But hook 'em horns. Now let's look at this. And this is from a heavy hitter. Here, this is a league in which we got to start 3 wide receivers weekly. So wide receiver depth is going to matter a considerable amount. It means that I'm not as incentivized to build around an elite quarterback and an elite tight end. Now, quarterback, we have Caleb. If Caleb's our QB1, I'd be fine if you wanted to roster 2 QBs. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not something you have to do, but looking at the names on the waiver wire, I really wish, please link your, I know it's like a little bit of annoying having to link your team with the site on ESPN, but definitely do it because you'll have so much of a better view of the players that you should be picking up off the waiver wire in comparison to like this little screenshot here. But going through and looking at the waiver wire options, nobody really stands out. I guess you got like Woody Marks and James Cook, but yeah, you didn't include any quarterbacks. I mean, I wouldn't mind at all if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to pick up another QB off waivers and then drop like Philly's DST. But looking at what we have at running back, we have Gibbs, we have Walker. So we have 2 absolute hammers, right? It is crazy to see that ESPN said only 71% of people started Kenneth Walker. How is that possible? And then we have Quinshon Judkins, RB3. So it looks like we have the top end running back production. We have quality running back depth as well. We have Tyler Algier down there on the bench as a premium handcuff play. Going over and looking at what we have at receiver, we have London wide receiver 1, Igbuka wide receiver 2. It looks like he gets a bump with the Evans injury. We have Travis Hunter for the long term, Troy Franklin for now. And then down on the bench, we have Josh Downs as well. Did Josh Downs only get started in 1% of leagues? It is crazy that like every fantasy analyst's favorite sleeper, like for the month of June in best ball drafts, was Josh Downs. And we're in week 3 and the Colts are performing better than you could ever imagine. And Josh Downs started in 1% of leagues on ESPN. But overall, we have the elite tight end with McBride. I like the team a lot. The only thing that I'd have to say is clearly the hole with our roster is wide receiver 3. If we were looking at making a trade to get a better wide receiver 3, though, the only expendable piece that we really have, because you can't sell a running back. You go through and you sell like Judkins and pick up a running back pick up a wide receiver like DJ Moore. Like all of a sudden you're just going to have a hole in the flex spot, right? So that doesn't really change anything. So, and then I'd say honestly, like going over and looking at the tight ends on waivers, tight ends are garbage on the waiver wire as well. Like your best option is freaking Cade Otton. So I was going to say maybe if you wanted to really go out there and pick up another wide receiver, if you have no faith in Travis Hunter in the long term, you would sell McBride and go get a wide receiver. But based off how bad the tight ends are on the waiver wire in your league as well, I'd probably just leave this team as is and then hope that Travis Hunter turns into that wide receiver 3 that we can start in the long term. But it is interesting to see you have the stones to play Troy Franklin instead of Travis Hunter. I probably would have gone with Travis Hunter, but clearly you made the right call. But I wish I had more for you. Definitely link your league with the site. That way, if you send in anything else, like it's just easy to see like the best options that we have on waivers. And then I would tell you like in general, I wouldn't mind rostering another quarterback instead of the second defense. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. Now let's move this over to Belch's team, and we are going to have to give out some free questions to people in the chat since we had 400 likes. So if you want those free questions, again, all you got to do is drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel, and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. It's completely free to have an account on the site. And also you can get a bunch of free useful things with that account as well. But Belch, let me go through and let me send you over some free questions before we even get into this. And then obviously we're going to have to send some free questions to the people in the chat too. Okay, Flock users. Let's see if I can find one of y'all out here. We got J2 Fat with a PH. I cannot find you, my guy. I don't know if you use code FLOCK when you signed up on the site. If you haven't used a code, you can add that to your account page. Trey Young just found you and just sent you over a free trade question. Appreciate you hanging out with us in this live stream. Okay. So anyway, here for Belch, this is an NFL fantasy league. So we're going to have to go ahead and we're going to have to pull up the screenshots of this. It says, feel like I need a running back upgrade, but not sure how much to spend on who. Keep up the good work, Mason, and congrats on the engagement. Thank you so much, my guy. Super excited to go through and check this out for you. So we are currently in a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So if it's a league in which you only start 2 receivers and a flex, you very much are in a situation in which I want to have the elite quarterback. I want to have the elite tight end. I want to have the running backs at the top. And we don't necessarily care much about skill positional depth. Now here at quarterback, Justin Herbert looks like an elite QB at this point. I mean, the Chargers are well ahead of the rest of the NFL with passing rate over expectation. They are just letting Justin Herbert go out there and sling it. If you had Herbert as your QB, I wouldn't fault you for rostering another. You definitely don't need to, but it looks like we don't even have another quarterback on this team. Going over and looking at running back. We currently are situated with Travis Etienne as well as Amari and Hampton. So I understand maybe your concerns with your running back room coming into the week, But post Najee Harris injury, Amari Hampton looks like a legit league winner. It looks like you should have no questions whatsoever with Amari Hampton, and he is going to just absolutely crush. And then you even have the quality depth at running back with Tony Pollard as well. So we have 3 startable RBs. Then going over to wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase, obviously getting absolutely killed based off how bad the offense is with Jake Browning. You have Brian Thomas, where he's probably turned out to be the biggest bust if we're just looking at options that were going at the 1-2 turn. We have Tyreek Hill, who's a great flex play, don't get me wrong. And then going over and looking at what we have on the bench, we have Keenan Allen, we have Ted McMillan, we have Devonta Smith, as well as Chris Godwin. So ultimately, if we were to go through and if we were to change anything at this point, it's very clearly going to be selling depth at the wide receiver position from this bench to try to get improvements inside the starting lineup. Like, I'm going out there and I'm offering Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert, and I'm trying to get Jaden Daniels. I'm offering Keenan Allen and Sam Laporta, and I'm trying to get Tyler Warren. I'm offering Keenan Allen and Sam Laporta, and I'm trying to get Trey McBride. I'm doing anything I can there to try to go through and upgrade those onesies. And you could take it one step further. You could try to get to Josh Allen. You could try to get to Lamar Jackson. I'm offering Ted McMillan and Justin Herbert to try to get to Josh Allen. Ted and Herbert to try to get to Lamar. Hell, maybe you go Brian Thomas and Herbert, try to get to one of those big 2 QBs. Maybe you go Brian Thomas and Sam Laporta to try to get to Trey McBride. Maybe you go ahead and you try to send Devonta Smith and Jamar Chase to try to get to Puka Nacua. Maybe you try to send Travis Etienne and Ted McMillan to try to get to Bucky Irving. Like, you have a phenomenal team here. I think, like, you don't necessarily have a need on any position, but when you have the expendable depth where Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, Ted, and Devonta Smith are all on your bench with Tony Pollard, you have 5 viable players on your bench. You should go out there and you should try to go get the QB1 in fantasy. You should try to get the tight end 1 in fantasy. But I really appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way. Let me triple check. Yeah, we sent you over those free questions. So if there's anything that you wanted to follow up with this team, I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you, my guy. But yeah, thank you again for hanging out with us in this stream. Now let's move this over to our next team and let's refresh and see how many teams do we still need to get in before we can get to the quick questions. Maybe we take a little break from the teams and we look at the quick questions soon. We have a lot of teams to get through. Let's do a couple more teams, then we'll get to some trade questions, some start set questions, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Steel Champs, a side note, week 1 traded A.J. Brown and T. Higgins for Pickens, Dobbins, and Jacobs. A.J. Brown to Jacobs, clear upgrade. T. Higgins to Pickens. Now with the Lamb injury, you look like you just absolutely robbed him. Thanks for the feedback. Hashtag 2026 Flock League Champ. Appreciate you, my guy, and excited to check this out. So we are currently 7th in the league analyzer in terms of future value. Looking at the value distribution of our league, it does look like there's a pretty significant drop off after us to the 3 teams at the bottom. Now, this is going to be a league in which depth at the skill positions does not matter. This is a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, and it's a 10-team format. So in general, rule of thumb, if we can make 2-for-1 deals to get improvements inside the starting lineup, that's going to be something we are interested in. Now, looking at having the elite quarterback, Josh Allen, in a format like this, it's beautiful to see. Obviously, we are very excited about this. Jake Ferg at tight end looks like an auto start at the tight end position here as well. Now that you have the CeeDee Lamb injury, and all of a sudden, I mean, Jake Ferguson's just going to get a tremendous amount of volume now. So looking at what this team needs to do, I'm not worried about QB. I'm not worried about tight end. What we need to be worried about is how do we get Chris Godwin and Trey Benson onto our roster? If you get Godwin and Trey Benson off the waiver wire, it's GG's for the rest of your league. Easily. You drop Khalil Shakir. You drop Hollywood Brown. I would even consider dropping Juwan Jennings for Godwin, Benson, Jordan Addison. I would say Godwin, probably number one priority for your team. Your team, you have Jaylen Warren at RB3. You have Matthew Golden, wide receiver 3. League Analyzer has us as the second best team in the league at running back, the 8th best team in the league at wide receiver. So I would go ahead. I would drop Shakir, Hollywood for Godwin, Benson. And then from there, like, that's plan A, and that's something that makes your team so much better regardless. But something else that you could do with your team as well is if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to try to get a wide receiver upgrade, you have the expendable depth when it comes to running back production. Because we're currently sitting with Jaylen Warren as our running back 3. And we have DeAndre Swift, RB4, David Montgomery, RB5. So let's go ahead and let's look at some of the teams that actually could use some help at running back. We'll use the League Analyzer, sort to the worst teams in the league at running back. This team's dead last at running back with Breece Hall as their RB1. They're first at wide receiver. They have St. Brown, Jefferson, London. Could we try sending them Jaylen Warren and Ladd McConkey for London? Jaylen Warren and Ladd McConkey for Jefferson. This team here is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, RB2. Maybe they need some depth here. Maybe we can try sending them the combo of Josh Jacobs and DeAndre Swift, or Josh Jacobs and Montgomery for Bucky Irving. This team has Scat breaking out at RB2, but they could still use an additional depth piece. Could we try sending them the combination of Jaylen Warren and Ladd McConkey? Actually, I don't think we can do that. Maybe Jaylen Warren for Marvin Harrison. This team, could we offer DeAndre Swift for DK Metcalf, DeAndre Swift for Brian Thomas, Jaylen Warren for Brian Thomas? It's like, if you were going to make a move with this, it would seriously just hinge on us being able to go through and us being able to sell one of our depth running backs for an upgrade at wide receiver. But again, I think your number one priority is just the waiver wire moves is going to and put us in a much, much better situation going into the future. But really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. But real quick, it looks like we're about to hit 500 likes on this stream. So if you haven't already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. When we hit 500, we'll send out some more free questions in the chat. And obviously, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. We are answering a ton of free fantasy football questions every single day. We're going to keep doing that every single day until Christmas. And if you want to get free questions answered, all you essentially got to do is be subscribed and come out to these live streams. Now, this one's going to be from Jack Spinazzola. Says, this league is usually wary of making trades. I'm doing well to start with the 2-0 at most points, but pretty slim at the bench running backs outside of handcuffs. Any advice would help. So not only are we number one in the league coming into this past week, but at the same time, we are now number one in the league analyzer. And I think a big reason for that is obviously we get the scat breakout and honestly making the running back depth here not a problem for us whatsoever. But let's go ahead and let's send out some of those free questions. So again, all you got to do to get those free questions, drop a like, be subscribed, and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. Completely free to have an account on flockfantasy.com. Just set it up with code FLOCK. That way, if you win those free questions, I'm able to go through, I'm able to find you on my users page to send those out. But this is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. The depth's not going to matter much with the skill positions. We are really just trying to optimize for the highest ceiling we can possibly get at the top. And that would include as well us hopefully having an elite quarterback and elite tight end. But let me send out some free questions real quick. Let's send this out to Colston Top. I just sent you over a free trade question, my guy. I really appreciate you hanging out with us. Actually, I cannot find you on the site. I don't know if I misspelled this. Let me try it one more time. Colston. No, cannot find you, my guy. I don't know if you use code FLOCK when you set up your account. If not, you can add it to your account page if you've never used a code before. That way I can find you going into the future. But Landon Mars just found you and just sent you over that free start sit. Appreciate hanging out with us in this live stream. But Jack says, this league is usually wary of making trades. I'm doing well to start with 2-0 in most points for, but pretty slim at the bench running backs. So looking at this again, Cam Scat looks like he's kind of saved that problem for us, where Scats now are running back 3. Looking at the league analyzer says we have the worst quarterback room in this league with only Drake May. We have the 3rd best running back room with the combo of Bijan, Chase Brown. The 5th best wide receiver room, obviously George Pickens, getting a significant bump with the CeeDee Lamb injury. We have Tet wide receiver 2, super exciting. Ladd is a wide receiver 3, is great. Obviously, if you drafted him to be your wide receiver 1, not so happy about that, but wide receiver 3 is solid. Travis Hunter, Quentin Johnson, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. Really like it in a league where wide receiver depth's not going to matter much. So in general, you know that there's nobody on this planet that has invested more money in fantasy football drafts into Quentin Johnston than I have. And I actually think I can say that with a ton of confidence as well. But with that being said, if you could just pivot off of Quentin Johnston and pick up a depth piece at running back, like if you could go Quentin Johnston and Braylon Allen and go and get DeAndre Swift, I wouldn't fault you at all for doing a move like that. Another trade that we could potentially look to make now that we have the depth piece of Cam Scat looking like he's actually viable. I wouldn't fault you whatsoever if you wanted to try to go ahead and try to send a wide receiver and Drake May to get a QB upgrade in a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers in a flex. Now, the difficulty with a trade like that is, like, you're going to have to send up one of the better wide receivers. You're not going to be able to sell Quentin Johnson for a top 4 QB. But maybe sending like Tet McMillan and Drake May for Jaden Daniels could be interesting if you have faith in like Cam Scat looking like your flex play, and then Travis Hunter or Quentin Johnston looking like a quality option for the bye weeks in the flex. So overall, you don't need to worry about your running back depth anymore because Cam Scat looks like he's here to save the day. I mean, if you wanted to try to go through and sell like the depth receiver like Quentin Johnson for a depth running back, by all means, go for it. And if you wanted to try to send like Ladd McConkey and Drake May for an elite quarterback, or Tet and May for an elite quarterback, you could do that as well. But really appreciate you. And really hope I was able to help you out in some way. Now, let's move this over to our next question. This one's going to be a team from Awi. It says, hey, I was just looking for an overall review and insight. It's a 14-team league, so I'd say everyone here are ball knowers. Yeah, 14-team format in general. Going to be a lot tougher. We are 6th in the league analyzer at this point. We are 2-0 coming into the week. Josh Allen has a fine day. Bijan, Trevion have fine days. Higgins falls flat. Devonta Smith, fine day. So there's a chance that we are 3-0 depending on who we play. Because keep in mind, if we are looking at what we have when it comes to like a 14-team format, obviously the bar is a little bit lower to be a QB1, to be a running back 1, a wide receiver 1, etc., etc. So here, quarterback, we have the best QB room in this league with Josh Allen. In general, I would be okay if you wanted to roster multiple QBs, just knowing that it's a 14-team format, so if everybody rosters 2 QBs, it may be difficult to pick up players if we get an injury or for the buys. But looking at your league specifically, it actually does look like most people are only rostering 1 quarterback based off the fact there are pretty decent options out there on waivers. So I actually think you'll leave this as is. Now, looking at what we have at running back, we have the anchor with Bijan Robinson. We have Trevion Henderson post Ramondre Stevenson fumbles. It does look like Trevion Henderson is going to be an extremely solid play. Tyler Algier as the premium handcuff, if anything were to occur to Bijan. Kareem Hunt may actually be startable in a 14-team league if you get desperate enough during the buys. So really the thing at running back is the Ramondre Stevenson fumbles kind of saves this team, where we should expect that we do get the expanded role when it comes to Trevion going into the future. Wide receiver is going to be the weakest part of this roster, obviously. I'm going to be honest with you, Chief. My wide receiver room is not much better than this, and I play in a 12-team league, not even a 14-team format. But regardless of the amount of teams in the league, T. Higgins, not a strong wide receiver right now. Devonta Smith, okay-ish wide receiver 2 in a 14-team format, but obviously not the best. Shaheed, even in a 14-team league, not excited about having him wide receiver 3. So let's go through and let's see what we have when it comes to the waiver wire options at receiver and running back. You have Jaden Reed. I would consider, now that it seems like Hollywood Brown is the wide receiver 2 behind Tyquan Thornton, while at the same time, you do have Xavier Worthy coming in soon. And on top of that, Rashee Rice is another week closer to returning. I would consider cutting Hollywood Brown in favor of Jaden Reed. Crazy that somebody in your league was already rostering Trey Tucker. Going over and looking at tight end, I would rather stream tight end than I would stream wide receiver in a league like this. So I don't think this is something that you need to do. But reality is your team's great in a 14-team format. You don't do anything in a 14-team league here. But let's talk about the scenario where the wheels really fall off. Let's talk about the scenario in which these wide receivers are no longer viable. If that's the case, then all of a sudden you're going to need to go through and you're going to need to sell Tyler Warren, pick up a wide receiver from a team that maybe has enough of them, and then you'd rather just go ahead and stream the tight end position with gross options. In general, it is going to be difficult to get away with having the elite quarterback and having the elite tight end in a 14-teamer. Obviously, you've been able to get away with it so far. We have a great team so far, so we're not going to panic. We're not going to go through and make any crazy moves right now. But really appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my guy. And congrats on having a great team so far. Just wide receivers, obviously garbage. And I think Tyler Warren would be the piece you would look to sell, but you don't have to do so right now. Now, let's get this going for Jay Lucas. Says, I need help. Joe Burrow going out has hurt the Jamar Chase stock. As a result, my team's gotten worse. Based on my team, what trade should we try to make or waiver wire pickups? And how can I make it better because we're not feeling too good right now? Okay. So let's go ahead and let's check this out. Before we even look at it, let me send you over some free questions. I will say this is going to be a 10-team league where you only start 2 receivers in a flex. So ultimately, the depth is not going to matter much here whatsoever at the skill positions. Like here, this is the kind of league where you want to have an elite quarterback. You want to have an elite tight end because you can generally afford it. Now, we are down here at the 6th spot in the league analyzer. Coming into this, we were 1-1. We had scored 221 points, so we are near the bottom of the league with points scored. Looking at this team, we have 3 auto locks at wide receiver every week. We have Chase, we have JSN, and we have Drake London. Travis Hunter, wide receiver 4, is like the perfect guy to have at wide receiver 4 in a league like this. Just because, obviously, we do not need to start him anytime soon. And he does give us long-term upside to potentially make a difference. Now, looking at the moves that we could potentially try to make. Mahomes in a 10-team league, below average QB1. Hawkinson, Kelsey in a 10-team league, below average tight ends. So looking at what we have here with the onesies, where in my opinion, the onesie positions are very important in a league in which you only start 2 receivers in a flex and it's a 10-team league just because the skill positional depth is going to be very easy to come by. I would really like to upgrade tight end or quarterback if we could. Looking at wide receiver, Chase, JSN, London. I don't think we could sell any 3 of those names for an upgrade at QB or tight end because frankly, all of a sudden, all you'd be doing is moving the hole that we have to the flex spot, right? Where RJ Harvey is not startable for the time being. You have to have Bucky, you have to have Brees in at running back. So I think your team, you're very limited on the moves that you could actually make. You're just going to have to wait until we get one of these rookie breakouts. Whether that rookie breakout comes from Travis Hunter, whether that rookie breakout comes from RJ Harvey, I don't exactly know yet. But when you get a breakout from one of those rookies, then all of a sudden when we have an additional flex spot that's going to be viable, I would actually opt to not really worry about selling Jamar. Like obviously if you could sell Jamar Chase for Amon-Ra St. Brown, if you could sell Jamar Chase for Puka Nacua, go for it. I would do it in a heartbeat. But I just don't see how you're going to be able to. Like, it's not like your league mates live under a rock and they didn't hear about Joe Burrow going down. So I think your clearer path to upgrading this starting lineup is actually going to be upgrading the onesies, but you just can't do it until you get a rookie breakout. But once you have that rookie breakout, we're going to try to go through and package together like Brees Hall and TJ Hawkinson for an elite tight end, or Drake London and TJ Hawkinson to go get somebody like Trey McBride. You're just going to be waiting a little bit of time because, again, you are in a very tough spot at the moment with Harvey, Hunter not being viable. Looking at the waiver wire pivots, I personally would cut Travis Hunter for Hunter Henry. I would also consider cutting TJ Hawkinson for David Njoku. Like Drake May looks like he's a strong pickup, but your team's just simply too good at the very bottom end of the roster to pick up May. Like I can't drop Addison. I can't drop Rachaad White. So we probably just stay with Mahomes right now and hope that Worthy comes back this next week. And then all of a sudden that elevates the Mahomes play. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this. Let me triple check to make sure that we sent you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you wanted to follow up with here. I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you. No, but we sent you over those already. But it looks like we're about to hit 600 likes on this stream. So if you haven't already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream, subscribe to the channel. We are sending out free questions in this live stream every single day. The majority of the questions that we answer are free. All you got to do to get them is be subscribed. Drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat, which is completely free to have an account on flockfantasy.com, and then drop a like on the live stream. But I'm going to move over to the quicker questions. We're going to get to some start sets. We're going to get to some trades, and then we will move back over to the roster reviews in a second. Obviously, we still have a bunch of teams that we need to get through. Okay. But our first trade that we're going to take a look at here is going to be from Taco. And my God, I'd be happy to check this out. But first, I do need to send over a free question. So we got Colts on top, says it works now. Don't know if we added the promo code to the account page. Let me see if I can go through and send this over for you, my guy. Maybe I need to refresh because it's still not pulling up. Okay. Colts. Yeah, it's not pulling up, my guy. I don't know if you use code FLOCK on your account page or maybe it's misspelt, but I've tried looking that up twice and can't find it. Let's send one over to Born to Nullify. Just found you and just sent you over that free start set question. I'm sorry, I'll actually send you over a free trade question just because it's early in the week. Let's send over free start set questions on later in the week. But for now, I don't even know if you want to be asking me start set questions because I don't even know what the matchups are for week 4. Now, Taco says, what are your thoughts and what if he wants Judkins over Benson? I would take Trey McBride here. Actually, it's tough. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. If he wants Judkins instead of Benson, I'll probably tell him no. But if this is the deal, your running back room's good enough where you can make it. But obviously, I am rooting for Trey Benson. I don't know if y'all know this, if y'all are with us this offseason, when we were drafting underdog teams every night. But we made a very, very heavy bet this year, fading James Conner and going after Trey Benson. I looked at my exposures after the injury like a normal psychopath would. And I drafted like 3% James Conner this year and like close to 14% Trey Benson. So you better believe I'm rooting for Trey Benson. But Himothy says, need a win week 4 and can't trust Ginty right now. He's my best option, or should we reconsider? Let me look up all the matchups here. Like I said, I have not. I would not recommend sending me week 4 start set questions on Monday. I almost wanted to keep them closed, but I know people would get mad at us in the chat if we did. So let's look at the matchups real quick. And I don't even think we have the implied team totals out yet. We don't. So let's just go NFL scores. I'm an idiot. We can just literally look at it on the site here. Week 4, Caleb's playing the Raiders. Week 4, Daniels is playing the Falcons. Goff is going up against the Browns. I would go Daniels plan A, Caleb plan B. Running back, Ginty versus Scat. So what did we say? Yeah, you have Ginty versus the Bears. Scat versus the Chargers. Tough matchup for Scat. Judkins versus the Lions. I'm going to be honest with you, Chief. I'm rooting for Scat. He may be in my starting lineup this week. I have him on my own team. But if this was my team, I would put in Ashton Ginty. I am very, very... And then you start George Pickens in the flex. Pickens is an auto start with no CeeDee Lamb. But if we're looking at, like, for me, and again, maybe this is a weakness of me in fantasy football. Maybe this is something I shouldn't do. But I am very stubborn that if we're in week 4, unless my first or second round picks gotten injured, I'm probably still playing the guys I took in rounds 1 and 2. But really appreciate you. Really hope I was able to help you out here, my guy. But yeah, that is a tough call. But it looks like I'm going to have to... What's it called? Log out and log back in. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're back. And as we wait for this to boot back up, I will stall by going, if you haven't already, hit the like button. Be subscribed to the channel if you want free questions. And if you want to be able to come out to these live streams that we're doing every single day for those free questions, I'd recommend hitting the bell next to the subscribe button so YouTube tells you when we go live. But again, play A. Daniels. I would go Genty because I'm stubborn. And then we're going to play Pickens here. Egbuka would be... I think you got to play Pickens regardless. TW1SM trading Travis Etienne and Tyreek for Tet and Rashee Rice. Tyreek to Rice, lateral move depending on your record. Etienne to Tet, lateral move depending on your team. Running back, we'd have Bucky, CMC, Chase. Yeah, you have plenty of running backs. If you're 2-0, you can do this. Or you're 2-1 or better, go ahead and make this deal and get the long-term value of Rice. Now, TJ Muggs here. We have Baker Mayfield, Trey Benson versus Jalen Hurts, Rome Odunze. I would rather have Rome over Benson. I'd rather have Hurts over Baker, so it's very easily the Jalen Hurts side. Z Young trading away Montgomery to upgrade to Gibbs. Hopkins is a 0. You're upgrading from Brian Thomas to Pickens, upgrading from Montgomery to Gibbs. You're paying Godwin and J-Mo to get it done in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. Yeah, give me the best players. Give me Gibbs and Pickens. I think Pickens may be the second best player in that deal. And again, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not draft a lot of George Pickens this year, so I'm probably rooting on George Pickens to disappoint. But I just simply wouldn't be able to fade him at this point with the CeeDee Lamb injury. Because this is going to be an offense that's forced to throw the ball with how bad their defense is, as we already mentioned. Now, ARJ is trading Genty and McBride for Bucky and Laporta. McBride to Bucky, slight upgrade. Genty to Laporta, massive downgrade. If this was my team, I would be stubborn and I would stick with Trey McBride and Ashton Genty here. But I would not fault you whatsoever if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to take the Bucky Irving side. Max says, Mason, are you going to open up questions anytime soon? I'm just trying to get through all the ones that we have, my guy. If we are able to get through the current questions that we have, they're open if you have like a free voucher to send in questions. So if you win a free question in the live stream or you got the season pass, you're an annual mother flocker and you have those free vouchers, you should have free vouchers to send questions in to me if you use code FLOCK. You can send those in right now. You just can't buy questions because we are too far backed up. You could buy a roster review, but not start, set, trade, etc. Now, Stein trading Bijan for Lamb, Golden, and Benson. I think I'd rather have Bijan. Maybe you're 3-0 and you go like, hey, I can wait a month for CeeDee Lamb. Then sure, go ahead and make the move. But if you're not 3-0, like the Atlanta Falcons looked horrible this past week, and Bijan still managed to score 16 points. Like the worst offensive environment you could ever imagine. Now, 44 MSU says, well, sent this, what are some counter offers? Cam looks good. I need a running back too. I'd like to get a Monroe St. Brown if I can. I have Scatterboo on my own team. If I can make a deal like this, there are no counter offers. I just take Jackson Smith and Jigba. Running back, you have Gibbs and Henderson and Ja'Cory Cross-Barrett. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where you have plenty of depth. Why are you going to send a counter? It's the JSN side here. Like I love Scat. I hope he comes through and crushes. Receiving usage looks great. But ultimately, like you still have the problem that this is a really bad Giants offense. And JSN looks like he's just a locked and loaded wide receiver 1 rest of the way. I mean, if you wanted to get another running back in return, you could ask them like, hey, send me back Joe Mixon just in case Joe Mixon turns out to be something, but I'd take JSN here regardless. Now, straight killer here, we have Kyler, Taylor, Ertz versus Daniels, Hampton, Rome. Taylor, best player in the deal. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 10-team league. So depth doesn't matter. But I would like to have the elite QB. We have Puka, Pickens in at wide receiver right now. Rome would go to the flex. Running back would be Bijan, Hampton. You'd get the elite quarterback with Taylor. I'm okay with you doing this deal. I don't love giving up the best player in a 10-teamer, but because you get the elite quarterback as well with Jaden Daniels, I think it's interesting. But again, not in love with this trade. Now, let's move this over and let's get to our next one. This is Austin trading Lamb for Hampton and JSN. I have JSN straight up over CD Lamb in my rest of season rankings. Even if I was 3-0, I would still rather have JSN over Lamb. You for sure go with the JSN side. Now, Brown trading RJ Harvey, Terrence Ferguson in a Dynasty League for Jordan Mason, a third, and Hunter Henry. It's just going to come down to if you're a contender. If you're a contender, I'm okay with you making this deal, but you need to be aware that it is almost a 100% fact, no matter what happens, that RJ Harvey with no J.K. Dobbins next offseason is going to be worth more than Jordan Mason in Dynasty. So you are losing the long-term value for the sole purpose of winning right now. But really appreciate you and hope I was able to help you out in some way. Now let's move this over to Overid trading JCM for Michael Pittman. I have them ranked back to back. I'm not going to mark either side as a winner. It's a fair deal. It's up to you. You have Gibbs, Henry. You have so many running backs that I'm okay with you going and getting Pittman, but I don't think that this is a clear win or loss regardless. Now, I hate injuries says, I woke up to this trade offer. I like it. What do you think? Love what you're doing. Thanks. Really appreciate you, my friend. Here, Trey Benson over Keenan Allen for me. Hunter Henry to Tucker Kraft, I still view as an upgrade. It's a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers in a flex. So here's the reality of it. If it's a 10-team league where you start 2 receivers in a flex, I'd imagine Keenan Allen's not hitting your starting lineup. Actually, you have the Lamb injury, so maybe he is. Once you get CeeDee Lamb back, you're not starting Keenan Allen. So your running back room's so good, you're probably throwing your running back into a flex. I'm okay with you making this move. What I would probably want to do instead, though, is I would probably want to send like Trey Benson and Hunter Henry to try to go get to like an elite tight end like McBride or Bowers, if that would be possible. Political follower, I'm still going to be starting Genty over Judkins this week because I'm stubborn. I have way more Judkins in best ball drafts, so I hope I'm wrong. And then down in the flex, Judkins versus Terry is going to be close. If we get Daniels, I want Terry. If Daniels sits, I'll take Judkins. Now, faint suspension with our next one, trading Genty and Nico for Puka Nacua. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Afterwards, we'd have Hampton, Etienne as the only viable running backs. Wide receiver, we'd have Sutton, Puka Nacua. Here's my problem with it. Are you wanting to put Travis Hunter into your flex spot? Are you wanting Byshell Tootin to be your running back 3? Don't get me wrong. I think you can make a strong argument, and it may be true that Puka Nacua is the winning side here. Like if we were to redraft today, I think Puka Nacua is the 102, only behind McCaffrey. So it's tough, but with your team, I think you just don't have enough depth to make a deal like that, even if I like the player and I like the price. Now, Jersey says, feel like I'm solid at running back. Probably try for Judkins on the waiver wire. Hell yeah. Like an 8-team league, if you're telling me Judkins is on the waiver wire, you're never starting Tony Pollard. Yeah, sell him for Kittle. I'm saying that with somebody who has Tony Pollard on their team. Now, Stefan, looks like you forgot to add something to this side of the trade, so I'm going to send you over a free trade voucher so you can resubmit this. Let's go over to our next question. This is going to be from Antoine, trading Lamb for Kyron and Tet. You easily want Kyron and Tet here. If Lamb was fully healthy, no, but CeeDee Lamb's about to miss it. Like, here's the thing, right? I understand they're telling us 2 to 4 weeks. I don't buy that. They said he's going to at least miss 2 weeks. If they're already ruling him out at this point for the next 2 weeks, I would be shocked if we end up getting CeeDee Lamb back in 3 weeks. I think you get CeeDee Lamb back in 4 or 5. Now he's dodging the IR, which is obviously great news. But let's say CeeDee Lamb misses the next 4 weeks, which is the upper estimate that they're giving us, but typically it's always the upper estimate. He's missing weeks 4, 5, 6, 7. He comes back week 8. When's the Dallas bye? Dallas bye week. (2025) Week 10. So if CeeDee Lamb's missing the next 4 weeks and he has the week 10 bye, he's missing weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, and week 10. So he's going to play weeks 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14. You get 6 games from CeeDee Lamb until the fantasy playoffs start. If you can sell Lamb for Kyron and Tet, that's a good price. Outside of the scenario where you're playing in a very shallow format, obviously you're not trading Lamb for depth pieces that are going to go to your bench. But still. Let's go over to our next question. This is Born to Nullify. This is JCM, Chase Brown, Devonta Smith versus Kamara, Debo, and Ferg. Chase Brown versus Kamara, give me Kamara. Smith versus Debo, give me Smith. JCM versus Ferg, if you need a tight end, with the CeeDee Lamb injury, Ferg's going to get flooded with targets. So, completely fine going with this side. Abraham says, how do I get a free trade question? We're sending them out in the chat in every single live stream. So, if you just hang out in the live stream enough, you're probably going to end up winning them in the stream. We'll explain how to just win them whenever we hit our next like goal. So if y'all haven't already, go down there and drop a like on the stream so we'll give out some more free questions. Now, high drag, low speed, trading JMO for DJ Moore, downgrade. Jalen Warren for Herbert, slight upgrade up to you. You have Purdy, Stafford at quarterback. Running back, we have Derrick Henry, Scat, Henderson. I'm okay if you made this deal, but I want to say that you could get more value for Jalen Warren at this point. So, I understand Herbert's been phenomenal. Pull this up. He's averaging about 20 points per game, but he's not close to Hurts. He's not close to Daniels. He's not close to Allen. He's not close to Lamar. I still want to say in general, if you're trading for a quarterback, I would rather go out there and overpay for one of those top 4 guys. Now, Mario says, Happy BR starts 7, 1 and 2, no depth or running back. Lamb injured. Don't know what to do. Other teams willing to make this trade. So 1 and 2, we lose Lamb. And we have Rashee Rice. We need to go out there and we need to get starters in this lineup right now. So looking at this, Aaron Jones to Travis Etienne, massive upgrade. Well, I have Rashee Rice ranked a couple spots ahead of Lad McConkey rest of season. If you're 1 and 2 and you just lost CeeDee Lamb, I'd probably rather have Lad for your team. And then you are moving from the downgrade of Bowers to Tyler Warren. So, yeah, I would be fine with you making this deal so we don't get out of it. I think you're losing long-term value. Don't get me wrong. But if this is going to be what keeps us in the league, we'll do it. Now, Hoodie Sen with our next one. Running back, I'm still starting Chase Brown over Ja'Cory Cross-Garrett this next week. I know Chase Brown's been horrendous. And then Rome looks like a must-start guy in the flex. You're playing the Raiders. Who is Sutton playing? These are the only 2 players we'd consider in the flex. Come on, load for us. Sutton's playing the Bengals. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to see the implied team totals. Right now, I'll tell you Rome, but it is going to be up to you. And honestly, we're going to have to see what the projections look like based off those matchups. Beto says, hey, Mason, I'm worried about my depth with Lamb and worthy injuries. It's a double flex league. So you sell Lamb for Rice. We get Rice back week 7. Say we get Lamb back about the same time. But we have Igbuka to start in the short term. I'd rather have Lamb when he's back than Igbuka. Right now, our starting lineup is Rome Odunze, Ricky Pearsall at wide receiver. Running back, you have James Cook, Jahmyr Gibbs. And the flexes, you have Trevion and Worthy or Quentin Johnston. I would say unless you're in a spot in which you're 1-2, you're 0-3, where you just need points right now. I would probably go ahead and I'd probably take Igbuka here, but if you're 2-1, 3-0, and you can wait for the long term, you're going to be waiting for Rice anyway, so I'd rather have Lamb. Because you have a really good team. Dubs trading Jefferson and Scat for Puka Nacua. This is interesting. Running back left over, you'd have Dobbins, Swift, Hubbard. It's a double flex format. I probably would make this move. And I'm probably going to need to look at what we have with my own team. Do not share this with the other guys. I'm posturing in the flock league like I'm completely fine holding on to all my running backs. But I have 5 running backs with value now that Cam Scat looks like he's about to crush. So realistically, I will probably need to try to make a trade similar to what you are doing here on my own team. But it looks like we just hit 700 likes on the stream. So let's go ahead and let's send out some more free questions. Again, all y'all got to do to get those free questions will be drop a like on the live stream, be subscribed to the channel, and then drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. It's completely free to have an account on flockfantasy.com. I can only find you on my users page, though, if you signed up with code FLOCK. If you don't have an account, if you have an account with no code already, you can add code FLOCK to the account page if you haven't. But B. Gardner here trading Dak and Sutton for Herbert and Myers. Down tier wide receiver, up tier at QB. We have no other quarterback. I'm fine with you making this move. Like, obviously, I think Dak's going to get a hit with no Lamb here. Okay. But let me go through and let me find somebody in the chat to send that free question to. We got Amy Lawyer, essentially. Amy. Just found you and just sent you over that free trade question. Thank you so much again for hanging out with us in this live stream. Let's go ahead to our next one. Next question is going to be from Kilroyds. JCM and AJ Brown versus Rome and Trevion. I'd rather have Trevion and Rome. Rome and AJ Brown are very similar to me. I have them ranked one spot apart. I have AJ Brown wide receiver 10, Rome wide receiver 11. And I think you're clearly upgrading at running back. I think Trevion gets a lot more usage now that we have the fumbles from Ramadre opening the door for Trev. Now, let's see. Okay, perfect. We don't have that many more questions to get through. So let's go ahead and let's get back to some of the team reviews that we need to do. But, God, I'm starving. I've not eaten anything all day, but essentially sugar water for my run. Let's move this over. This is from Love Hurts. Really appreciate you, my guy, and really excited to check this out. Saying, hey, Mason, love the content. Just curious on your opinion on any moves to potentially make my team better, if at all. Just made a huge trade to get Chase and Cooks for Jacobs, Mason Smith. Feel like I won that, but still feel like the running back room could use some help. Thanks, man. Thank you, my guy. Let me send you over some free questions before I forget on this. This is Jalen Hurtsia, team name. We are 3rd in the league analyzer with future value. We've scored, coming into this past week, 220 points. Obviously, we have a really good Jalen Hurts game this week, good James Cook game, So I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if we ended up winning this week and we moved to 2-1, but definitely no guarantee here. I don't even know who you would have put in the flex spot. So looking at this league in general, the depth's not going to matter much, right? It's a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. It's kind of a good thing that depth doesn't matter much because depth is the worst thing on our roster. Our depth is extremely questionable here. But before we even get there, we have Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Long term, we have the elite tight end with George Kittle as well. I really like this in a league in which you only have 1 flex, because a league in which you only have 1 flex, you're not having to worry much about your wide receiver depth pieces, as we already mentioned. So long term, I really like it. The issue is we just need George Kittle back sooner rather than later. Going over and looking at what we have at running back, we have James Cook, we have David Montgomery. So James Cook, great running back one. If we were to redraft today, I would say that we are probably looking at him as a round 1 fantasy pick. Montgomery, RB2. Don't love having to start him every single week. I would say maybe more so just have the upside that if you were to get an injury to Jahmyr Gibbs, then all of a sudden Montgomery turns into a straight league winner. Brian Robinson, Blake Corum, just as the handcuff pieces. So running back depth, not great. Going over and looking at what we have at wide receiver. We have Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Completely fine here. Travis Hunter, wide receiver 3. Long-term upside. Shakir, Booty, Hollywood, Dobbs. I understand wide receiver 3 is not great for our team. I understand wanting to go out there and maybe wanting to try to make a play to upgrade. But I don't think the way to go about this is rostering this many receivers. Because when are you ever going to put Romeo Dobbs in your starting lineup? I would want you to cut Romeo Dobbs and pick up Braylon Allen, because if Breece Hall were to go down, then Braylon Allen turns into somebody that you can start every single week in your flex, potentially as a league winner. I would look to go through and I would honestly cut Hollywood Brown based off what we've seen with the usage of Tyquan Thornton, and I'd pick up Trey Tucker as well. Looking at what we have at tight end, we have Harold Fannin, who's a fine play. Obviously, the issue is the offense is just horrendous. And I'd consider picking up Christian Kirk too. I dropped Kayshon Boutte. I'd pick up Christian Kirk. So I think you drop Boutte, drop Hollywood, drop Dobbs, pick up Trey Tucker, Christian Kirk, and Braylon Allen. And then tight end, we're leaving this as is. So long term, your team's good. The issue is the short term is we have the George Kittle injury, while at the same time, we are also dealing, of course, with Travis Hunter not being viable right now for our flex. So I think the big thing that you're going to have to do with this team is just wait. I'm not going to make a trade. We're going to hope that we hit on Hunter, get Kittle back, and then I want to roster as many running backs as we can down there on our bench. That way, if there's an injury to CMC, Brian Robinson turns into a league winner. There's an injury to Kyron, Blake Corum's an every week starter at running back too. Pick up somebody else like Braylon Allen. That way, if there's an injury to Breece, Braylon's a must-start running back. But unless your team was like 0-3, I don't think that there'd be a trade you need to make. If you were 0-3, I'd be scrambling to try to send Kittle and Montgomery to get a better running back. But you do have a little bit of flexibility since we've already had the win. And there's a chance that we are 2-1 after the week with Jalen Hurts and James Cook performing well. Depends probably what happens tonight with Amon-Ra and Montgomery. And you know I'm rooting for you, my guy. But really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thank you so much. My guy, I sent you over those free questions if there was anything else that you wanted to follow up with. Now, let's move this over to Baby Suzuki. It says, hey, Mason, love the videos. Second week in a row, I got destroyed by looking for any input that we can get. So we are Saquon and Sons. This was sent about after the full slate of games before Sunday Night Football. So I'm assuming when you say second week we got destroyed in the row, you were talking about weeks 2 and 3 and not weeks 1 and 2. And let's see this. We are dead last. My guy, you're cooked. you are cooked like a Thanksgiving turkey, even if we're 2 months away from Thanksgiving. Dear God. Okay. It is a 10-team league where you start 8 players, so the depth's going to matter with the skill positions. But let's look at this as if we were to redraft today. Or let's just look at what the league analyzer says. We have the 8th best running back room. Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt's currently our running back 2. We just lost James Conner. We have the 8th best wide receiver room. Garrett Wilson's currently our wide receiver 1 in a 10-team league. We have the worst tight end room. We have Juwan Johnson, and that's it. And we have a mid QB room with Justin Herbert in a 10-team format. I do not like this. Not a fan. Now, in terms of what we got to do from here, first thing is we got to swing for the fences with the waiver wire. If you're using a fab budget system, it looks like your league mates know what they're doing. There aren't like crazy solid options on waivers outside of Trey Benson. If you could go through and if you could just blow your fab budget on Benson, it would help this running back room a lot after losing James Conner. I would love to upgrade running back 2 by making a trade. I would also cut Alec Yeomanor, or I would cut Troy Franklin, or cut Josh Downs. Cut one of these wide receivers, throw the Hail Mary, and pick up Joe Mixon. In case Mixon comes back and he turns out to be viable. As we need to find a way to actually get a running back of value on our team besides Saquon Barkley. And then I would love to tell you to make a trade, but what trade could I tell you to make? You have no expendable value on this team. Like even Jalen Waddle, in a 10-team format, most people aren't going to trade for him. We're sitting here and we have him as a necessity. Like he's our wide receiver 4, and you kind of got to start 4 wide receivers here weekly considering our lack of running back depth. Here's what I would potentially look to do on your team if you cannot get Trey Benson. If you can get Trey Benson, Benson solves a lot of these problems. He fills that hole that James Conner is going to leave. But if you can't get Benson, then you may have to sell Barkley, which I hate to say. I have Saquon Barkley on my own team. I'm not looking to sell him. But also, I'm not this desperate when it comes to running backs. I would go and look at the top teams in this league, the teams that probably have plenty of depth. I would try to send Saquon Barkley and pick up Devon Achane and Nico Collins. I would try to send Saquon Barkley and pick up Amari Hampton and Jamar Chase. I would try to send Saquon Barkley and pick up Malik Neighbors and Breece Hall. I would try to send Barkley and pick up CMC straight up. Maybe you pick up Josh Jacobs and Tyler Warren. Or you go Barkley and Herbert and you get Josh Jacobs and Lamar Jackson. I would try to send Barkley for JT straight up. Try to send Barkley for the combo of Kyron, London, and Kraft. Like, I hate to tell it to you, my guy, your team's not good. You are cooked after the James Conner injury. You may have to down tier from Barkley, but that's going to be plan A to plan B as we sell out to do anything that we can to get Trey Benson off the waiver wire. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way here, my guy. Again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock. And yeah, thank you for everything. And let me triple check, make sure I sent you over some free questions. I know you've been with us for a long, long time, my guy. And yeah, let me send you over some free questions just in case there's anything that you're going to follow up with this team that's going through hell at the moment. Now let's move this over to our next team. This is going to be also somebody else that's out here all the time with us. This is Michael, my guy. Happy to see you. Says, happy to have a win under my belt in week 3. Still looking to make a 2-for-1 deal. Still waiting on Trey and Trav to break out, which is unfortunate, but let me know if we should sell my wide receivers high for an upgrade or wait out the rookies and Kittle. Also, the Big Q is funding all of our lake houses. Oh, it could not be better, my guy. We got the Big Q just like, I was telling my girlfriend this, and I hate to say this on a YouTube video because I know how it works. I'm going to say this, and here's how it works on YouTube, just to let you know. I come out here and I say, I'm an idiot. I get things wrong all the time. Don't listen to me. People don't clown on me. If I ever say like, oh, I got something right or I'm doing well, you open yourself up to get a ton of hate. So I should not say this. I'm not going to say this in any videos, but since we're just live streaming, we're like 2 hours into a stream. The only people that are ever going to see this will be y'all. And I just kindly ask y'all, do not give me hate for this. But this year, we are freaking crushing it. Like our big calls that we have made, go all in on Quentin Johnson, fade James Conner, the old injury-prone running back, draft a ton of Trey Benson, looking really exciting. It is looking good. Plus, my team in the flock leagues, it's probably going to be 3-0 unless Derrick Henry outscores the Ravens kicker by 20 points. Like, I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, we're crushing on YouTube, crushing on all the teams that I've drafted, crushing on my main team. Like, it is. Things are going well this season. But please do not share that I ever said that outside of this right here, because I'll just open myself up to a bunch of hate. But always happy to see you, Michael. And that is another thing. And we drafted so much freaking Quinshon Judkins too. At dirt cheap cost. And Quinshon, like, we're doing well. But anyway, let's move this over and let's check out Michael's team. So Michael, we're 1-2 now. So obviously not great so far this year. We had the George Kittle injury. Travis Hunter's been a bum. We had nothing from Judkins. Trevion Henderson been disappointing. We had Justin Fields, I'm sure, in week 2, just absolutely bombing for us. So it's all turning the corner at this point. Quinshon Judkins looks startable. Trevion Henderson looks like his role is going to be expanding with the fumbles that we have to Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. We're another week closer to George Kittle returning. Caleb Williams looks viable at this point. This is a great team. Now, it is a league in which you only start 2 receivers, 1 flex. But you know what I always want to say there? I always want to try to go out there, make a 2-for-1 deal to upgrade at the onesies. Looking at your team specifically, though, it's not like we're super, super pumped. Oh, this is true. I forgot to call it the fiance, not girlfriend. But anyway. Looking at what we have with like this team in the long term, it's going to be incredible. In the short term, I'm not all in on trusting Trevion. I'm not all in on trusting Judkins. I'm not all in on trusting Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Like, I don't want to get these guys into my starting lineup yet. But once we have like Trevion fully breaking out and Judkins fully breaking out, then at that point, I would absolutely love to try to get an upgrade at quarterback because we're going to be able to afford it. Like, our starting lineup week 4, we have Caleb at QB, Derrick Henry, and then probably Judkins at running back. Wide receivers, St. Brown, Sutton, Smith in the flex, Zach Ertz at tight ends. But say like once Trevion proves that he can be a startable player every week, and we maybe get that from Travis Hunter as well, then that could open you up to potentially being able to sell like Cortland Sutton and Caleb Williams to get to an elite quarterback. So I love your team right now. I love how it's situated. Clearly the only position that could possibly use some help would be QB, but we're just going to have to continue to let these rookies improve until they do hold enough value where we can just send Sutton or send one of those rookies with Caleb to get to the elite QB. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. And of course, thanks for always hanging out with us in the stream. And let me make sure you have a bunch of free. We already sent those over for you, so you're good there as well. We'll send over a couple extra just to make sure there's anything else you ever want us to look at. So you should have at least 4 free vouchers in your account, but I'm sure you probably have more than that at this point. But really appreciate you as always. Now, it looks like we just hit 800 likes on the stream, so let's go ahead and let's send out some more free questions. Again, all you got to do to get those free questions will be go ahead, drop a like on this live stream, be subscribed to the channel, and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. We are live streaming every single day answering fantasy football questions, and the majority of the ones that we answer are actually the free questions from people. So if you're subscribed and you hang out with us in these live streams, you should be able to get some free questions. Now, the Soaring Eagle is going to be our next team that we look at. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 1 super flex keeper league. Can only keep 2 players max of each season. Need to choose a different keeper player after 1 year. Keepers can't be the same positions. So here's the thing, my guy. With this league, you just treat it as if it's a redraft format. You're always going to have 2 players that you want to keep. You don't need to go out there and overvalue Travis Hunter just because you're excited about his keeper upside next year. Obviously, if it's dynasty or if you keep more than 5 players, then yes. But if it's a 2-player keeper league, just treat it as if it's redraft. Keepers can't be the same position. Kept Allen Chase. Like my team on paper, but I'm 1 and 2. Do we make any trades or hold tight? And any advice? We are sitting here with the best quarterback room in this league, the 10th best running back room, the 6th best wide receiver, and the 4th best tight ends. Let me go ahead and send out a free question real quick to somebody in the chat, and then we'll get back to this roster. But looks like your league mates know what they're doing because there aren't really many options available to us on waivers. So this is Sutton D. Lover. Just sent you over that free trade question. Really appreciate hanging out with us in this live stream, my friend. And yeah, somebody in the chat, please remind me when we hit 900 likes, then we'll go out there and we'll send out another free question. But here anyway, Superflex League, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. I would like to roster a 3rd quarterback if there was a starter out there, but looks like at this point there is no starter. Looks like Anthony Richardson is never going to start over Daniel Jones outside of the instance of a Daniel Jones injury. So reality is we're probably just leaving this as is. Now looking at what we have at running back, we have the combination of Chase Brown, Trevion Henderson, Tony Pollard, RJ Harvey, and Joe Mixon. So it looks like long-term we are in a fine spot, but the expectations should, of course, been that you start off a little slow, right? You draft Trevion, you draft RJ Harvey, 2 rookies that obviously aren't doing much. Now, the disappointing thing is when it comes to what we have with Chase Brown, we were expecting running back 1 production, which he has been far from it. And with Burrow's injury, there's no reason to believe that that changes anytime soon. It's a league in which you only start 2 receivers in a flex. So we don't really care much about our wide receiver depth. We have London, Flowers, Tyreek, and then beyond that, these guys aren't that valuable. So what I would do with your league setting specifically is I would drop Romeo Doubs. I don't know when you would ever get him in your starting lineup. I would pick up Braylon Allen instead. I would go ahead. I would probably drop Hollywood Brown even. Like you're never starting Hollywood with a team as good as yours. And I'd pick up Blake Corum. Because then you give yourself outs where if you get a Brees injury, if you get a Kyron injury, then all of a sudden we have a player that can actually predictably make an impact inside our starting lineup. Then going over to tight end, nobody's interesting. So realistically, there's no trade to be made with this team. I think you have a great team. I think the thing with your roster is you just simply need to wait. We need to see RJ Harvey, Trevion Henderson continue to get better over time, which there's a real shot that that ends up happening. But I would just do the simple things of cutting the depth wide receivers for the depth running backs. And I really like your team for your league settings in particular, and it's just going to take a little bit of time for the rookies. But let me send you over some free questions, my friend, just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with. I know you're always out here hanging out in these live streams with us. I see that name all the time. Really appreciate you. Now, let's move this over to Buddy's team says, I already know I did a team review, but I just upgraded a mother flocker. I'm kind of panicking on Ladd, Brees, and Jamar. I've tried to trade for an elite quarterback and an elite tight end, but no success. I would likely have to overpay. Might need to upgrade at wide receiver. Okay. I'll say, your team's probably low in the league analyzer. Actually, it's not bad at all considering those three names that we have. We are 5th in the league analyzer. We were 1-1 coming into this week. However, with our starting lineup, I guess Jonathan Taylor maybe could have won you the week himself. So let's go ahead and let's look at this again. Super happy to check this out for you, my guy. And if you upgraded to being an annual mother flocker, not only should you got that free team review voucher, but you should also have free vouchers as well for start set and trade questions. But let's take a look at this. We have Daniel Jones at quarterback. On the waiver wire, there are no quarterbacks that come close to Daniel Jones. So in reality, he's not just a streaming option for you. You're probably starting him every single week. Now, going over and looking at what we have when it comes to running back, we have JT, we have Brees, we have Amari Hampton now taking over with no, gosh dang. You have Amari Hampton taking over with no Najee Harris, looking like the easy play over Brees Hall. Jordan Mason's the easy play over Brees Hall as well until Aaron Jones comes back. Wide receiver, we have Chase, Igbuka, Ladd, Godwin. We have Hunter for the long term. I mean, you already know what I'm going to say. This team, you have Brees Hall on your bench. You have Ladd McConkey on your bench. You have Chris Godwin. You have Travis Hunter. You have Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt all on your bench. So, in my opinion, I would go out there and I would do what I could to try to upgrade at quarterback or tight end. I understand that maybe your league mates are going to make you overpay, but you can overpay if these options on your bench. I would go out there. I would offer Brees Hall and Daniel Jones for one of the top 4 QBs, whether that's Hurts, Daniels, Lamar, Allen. I'm sitting it. I would offer Igbuka with Juwan Johnson for one of the top 3 tight ends, whether that's Bowers, McBride, Warren. Obviously, there are waiver wire pivots that I'd make here. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. You would never start Troy Franklin in a league like this. So clearly we are going heavy after Trey Benson. If you have a fab budget, you're blowing your fab budget on Benson this week. And then I would also cut Evan Ingram for either Byshell Tootin or Rashad White, probably Tootin. Because if you were to get an injury to Travis Etienne, I think Tootin could become an every week starter and somebody else that you could potentially look to add in that package to get an upgrade at QB. Let me see what we have at wide receiver. Yeah, nothing really stands out on waivers at receiver. Yeah, and I wouldn't even want to roster 2 tight ends. I would just get as many running backs as we possibly can. But I really appreciate you. I mean, you have a solid team, my guy, especially now that we have the Amari and Hampton full-blown emergence post Najee Harris injury. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, I sent you over, I mean, you should have those free vouchers as well for start sit trade questions if you upgraded to being an annual mother flocker, which I'll be super happy to answer any of that for you as well. Okay. Now let's move this over to our next question. This is going to be coming out from Yassine. Says, I'm about to be 1-2 and my team's been underperforming like crazy. What kind of trades do you think I should do to improve the squad? So we are the 5th team in the league analyzer. In terms of future value, it's a 10-team league. You only start 2 receivers in a flex. So I can already tell you, I love this setup. If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, and we have Josh Allen and we have Trey McBride, they are going to take up such a high percentage of our starting lineup output weekly. The depth of the skill positions, frankly, is not going to matter much. So I really like what we have here. Now, obviously, the thing that we can say that's a no-brainer is let's sell one of the tight ends. We have the combination of both Trey McBride and Tyler Warren. For me, I would way rather have McBride over Warren. So, I mean, I'm going to be selling Warren if I can, but it is going to be easier said than done. And if instead you need to sell like Trey McBride, where you sell Trey McBride and DJ Moore to go get Nico Collins, to go get Amon-Ra St. Brown, to go get Malik Neighbors, I think that would be something we're looking at. Or you can go try to get to Justin Jefferson if the Jefferson owner is panicking, the Jamar Chase range. But you could also try to go Tyler Warren and like Brian Thomas to do that similar thing. So we can get a true wide receiver 1 here in the long term, because a running back 2 in the short term's obviously been disgusting with Trevion Henderson. But post Ramondre Stevenson fumbles, post Antonio Gibson fumble, the baseline expectation, at least in my mind, is going to be that Trevion Henderson does expand his role here in this offense and become somebody that we actually can look to trust going into the future. See if there's anything else that we could potentially say with this roster. I mean, I would go ahead and it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So the wide receiver depth's not going to matter much. I understand that you're set up when it comes to like George Pickens, wide receiver 1, Brian Thomas, wide receiver 2, DJ Moore, wide receiver 3. Like these are bad receivers. So I completely understand if you wanted to hold on to as many receivers as possible. But the thing is, like, how are you ever going to figure out when you get these guys into your starting lineup? So I would rather cut Franklin. I'd rather pick up Algier, because Bijan goes down. Algier turns into a league winner at RB2. And that's kind of what we need. And then obviously we're trying to sell a tight end and a wide receiver to go get that wide receiver upgrade. I understand running back 2's maybe been the weakest spot on our roster so far. But frankly, I would not tell you to sell a tight end and Trevion Henderson to get an RB upgrade, just because I think that Trevion Henderson's going to be so much better going into the future that my baseline assumption would be that you're probably selling him at a low point if you are doing so. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way here, my friend. But let me make sure I sent you over those free questions just in case there's anything else that you want to follow up with. I'd be super happy to take a look at it for you. Joe says our trade questions off today. So we are too far backed up on questions. So the trade questions, start sit questions are turned on if you have a free voucher. So if you got like a team review and you wanted to send up a follow-up, you can do it that way. Or if you got the season pass, or if you're an annual mother flocker and you use code FLOCK, you'll have free vouchers to send in that stuff that way. But we do need to catch up on all the questions that we currently have before we can turn it back on where you can buy, start, sit, or trade questions. I'm sorry, we're just too far behind. If we had like all those questions turned on, it wouldn't be manageable. But we'll move over and we'll go back to Sego bands in a second. But let's get to some of those quicker questions that had been sent in from the people that had those free vouchers. And again, you can get the free vouchers as well by just winning them in the live stream. We're sending out a ton. You can tell the majority of these questions we are answering are free. All you got to do is drop a like on the stream and be subscribed to the channel. And we're sending out those free questions every day. Okay. Now, Gregory says, hey, Mason, see you at 2 in the Mastiff. I'm right behind you at 3. Good luck, my guy. Good luck, my friend. And I maxed out the Mastiff this year. And we're doing incredibly well across most Underdog tournaments because Quentin Johnson and Trey Benson are some of my most drafted players. And we have Quinshon Judkins. But the Mastiff, I think out of the 7 teams we drafted, I'm only advancing 2 right now, which is, it's not looking good. Hopefully, you know, now that I think about it, I mean, or say it out loud, the Trey Benson, Quinshon Judkins exposure probably shouldn't come through and help us dramatically until going into the future. Like, obviously didn't help much in the first 3 weeks. So, but I hope the big Q does. Kyle says, I got the annual Mother Flocker Pass. How do I get the team breakdown for Mason? If you're on the trial, you won't have the free vouchers in your account yet. But if you are an annual Mother Flocker and use code FLOCK and you've already paid, you should have free vouchers attached to your account. If you're having an issue with them, you can email support@flockfantasy.com. Now, Simpy trading, or we're going to go to Flock God here. Let's go in order. This is a Dynasty Superflex League. We're trading a CJ Stroud and a future first for Mahomes. I would do this. Mahomes hasn't looked great, but CJ Stroud's looked straight up bad, and Mahomes at least is about to get Worthy and Rashee Rice added back. And he's arguably one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best QB in NFL history. Bucci, looks like you only added players to one side of the trade. I'm going to send you over a free trade so you can resubmit this with it correctly. Bryce with a trade says another trade, Josh Allen and Hunter for Bucky and May. Here, this one, Olave and Jennings versus Walker. Give me Walker. Josh Allen and Hunter for Bucky and May. It's a fine deal. It's up to you, and depending on how desperate you are for RB. I'd probably rather just make this trade for Walker between the two of them. Robert says, got offered this deal. I'm big on Scat, skeptical on Jacobs. I think this trade gives me better depth, but what do you think? So here's the thing. I also have Josh Jacobs and Scat on my team. I would trade them in a heartbeat for Bijan Robinson. However, I play in a 12-team league. You play in a 14-team league. So the waiver wire options here in your 14-team format, not great, Chief. So if we're looking at what we would want to do here, afterwards, like before this trade, you're starting Bijan and Pollard, London and Sutton, and then your flex spot is Benson. I was actually expecting to tell you to take the package in a 14-team format, but because you just got Trey Benson turning into a league winner, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that you are in a great spot and you don't need the additional depth. I would leave this as is, but let me send you over another free trade just in case there's anything to follow up with. Kyle, I just answered your question 2 minutes ago. If you keep copying and pasting the chat, you are going to get muted. Obrak says, is team analysis cheaper if I get the season pass, Mason? Yes. So how the pricing works on all the a la carte stuff on the site is if you get the season pass and you use code FLOCK, obviously you get the free vouchers for me to answer your questions immediately. But then in the future, anything that you buy on the site, if you use code FLOCK when you got the season pass, it will be 30% off from me. If you get anything from other people, it will be 15% off from them. Or if say you got the season pass with a different promo code or somebody else that you watch, then it would be 15% off of whatever you would ask me. Okay. Hopefully that helps. But Matt Bugs coming through. This is Swift, Jordan Mason, Devontae Adams versus RJ Harvey, Drake London. Adams to London, still an upgrade. Swift to Harvey, downgrade. You're paying Jordan Mason to get it done. Your running back room's not that great. No, you keep Jordan Mason here. Jordan Mason looks like a running back one until Aaron Jones comes back. And I would still expect that Jordan Mason is the lead back when Aaron Jones comes. When that does happen, we're probably going to assume that Jordan Mason is what's it called? He's in a committee, but he's the lead back in it still. Now, let's go to Planet. Says, who should I be trading and who should I target? So Jordan Mason and Quentin Johnston. Left over, you would have Amari Hampton, Trevion, Quinshon Judkins. I don't see why you would do this. I don't see why you'd make a deal with your team. Your team, you actually kind of need the depth because we're sitting with 3 rookie running backs. The 3 rookie running backs definitely look good in the long term. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited about them. But I'm not excited to jam in Judkins this week. I'm not excited to jam in Trevion this week. You just had the CeeDee Lamb injury as well. I would actually way rather hold on to what we have here with Jordan Mason and Quentin Johnston. I think you leave this as is. I think you have a fine team, but you got to get through the rookies and the injuries. Now, Nemesis says HN and Lamb for Taylor and JSN. This is super easy. I'd way rather have Jonathan Taylor than HN, and I'd way rather have Jackson Smith and Jigba over CeeDee Lamb. So, super easy JT side. Nate, this is Caleb and Javonte versus Ash and Genty. Very easily give me Genty. I understand Caleb looked like an elite quarterback this past week. I don't think he's elite. I think the Dallas Cowboys defense is garbage. Don't get me wrong. I think Caleb's a fine QB1, but I think he's more like one of the QBs that you roster 2 of them and you play the matchups between the 2. Okay, D Treats with our next start set. Says, traded Chuba and Worthy for Nico. Thanks for the help. Appreciate you, my guy. Chuba and Worthy for Nico is a great deal. You're going to go Dobbins over Henderson still. Wide receiver Nico Collins will be this spot. We're going to go Igbuka in this one with the Evans injury. And the last slot, we're probably going to go with Tetaroa McMillan. Okay. Matt says, just added the promo code. Am I able to get the free vouchers, etc.? If they're not in your account already, please email support@flockfantasy.com. But it looks like we're about to hit 900 likes. So if you haven't already, go down there, hit that like button. When we hit 900 likes, we'll send out some more free questions in the chat. Simpy trading Kyron McLaurin Pickens for Jahmyr Gibbs. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. We have Godwin coming back soon. So yeah, I think you can make this deal. I mean, Pickens looks like he's set up to absolutely crush over the next month with no CeeDee Lamb, of course. Okay. Now, let me send out a free question before we get to this trade question. Oh, here. We just hit 900 likes, so let's go ahead and let's send out some more free questions. Again, y'all can tell the majority of the questions we answer in these live streams, they're the free questions for people winning them in this chat. So all you got to do is drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat, and be super happy to send you out a free question. It's free to have an account on the site as well. I'm here to Cito trading Jamar Chase for Jacobs and McBride. If Burrow was healthy, I would go ahead and I'd take the Jamar Chase side of this, but with no Burrow, no, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Chase and McBride. Landon here for the flex. We have no CeeDee Lamb this week, so it's Juwan Jennings versus Jerry Jeudy versus the tight ends, not playing the tight ends. And we lost James Conner as well. So I think plan A is Juwan Jennings. Jerry Jeudy has looked horrible in Cleveland this year. And I'm saying that as somebody who has Jerry Jeudy on his team. So if Jennings plays, he's day-to-day right now with the shoulder. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Jennings. If he misses, we'll go Jeudy. But let me send out a free question. We got this one from Ashley. This is Zlay3. Just sent that over. Really appreciate you. And I'm going to send you over a free trade and a free start set question. Appreciate hanging out with us in this live stream, of course. But let's move this over to our next one. This is going to be hypnotic. Trading Benson Chase for Flowers Puka. Benson to Flowers upgrade. Chase to Puka upgrade. Yeah, it's going to be the Puka side. No brainer. And I actually need to log out and log back in. So give me 1 second here. And maybe we can move back over, or actually, no, we need to answer that for Hypnotic before we move back over. So we'll get back to the team reviews soon. But today's stream should be about, we're going to stream all the way until kickoff. So it should be gone for over like 4 hours. And also tomorrow's stream will go for 4 or 5 hours. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull this around. So Hypnotic, like we said, give me Puka over Chase, give me Flowers over Benson. We'll go with this side. Now, our next question is going to be from Sergio, but if I'm going to live stream all the way till kickoff, I need to go through, I need to pee and grab a protein bar because I'm starving. Sorry, also, I've eaten so much the only thing I've eaten today is like artificial crap. So, I don't want to get another protein bar, so y'all gotta see me eat a sausage real quick. We can just hang out here together. MSU fans says they're gonna stream on your wedding day. Do not tell the fiance. But the current plan is we are going to live stream the Flock League draft on the wedding day, at the wedding. So, should be good. Obviously, everybody from the Flock League will be there. This sausage, phenomenal. Maybe cold, but perfect amount of cheese. This was the jalapeno and cheese sausage from Costco. Don't know if this is only in Austin, where they're in Costco's nationwide, but highly recommend. And obviously, I'm joking about the streaming the wedding day. I think we're going to do wedding in March. That way we can do like a really long and nice honeymoon and I don't have to worry about football. Okay. We're through with that. Midget Unicorn, I'm going to try my best to get through all the reviews. most likely up until kickoff. I'm going to for sure get through all the trade questions, for sure get through all the start set questions. Some of the team reviews will lead into tomorrow, though. But if you submitted a team review today, at the very latest, it'll be done by tomorrow. I'm sorry, I just spit out my food. This is hilarious. This is Mason, eat the end of the sausage. Don't be that guy. All right. There, we ate the end of the sausage. There you go, brother. That was hilarious. Okay. God, that little nasty little tip at the end. Now let's keep it going for the people that are left with us. Traded Caleb and Brian Thomas for JSN. JSN, and it's a no-brainer. If I was going to consider that, it would have to be one of like the top 4 quarterbacks for it to be close. Everest with their next one. Trading Tet and McBride for Judkins and JSN. This is interesting. Do we have another tight end of note? We have Tyler Warren. If you have Tyler Warren, I think you can do it. Maybe you lose a little bit of value, but ultimately if Warren is the replacement level tight end at on your team, I think you can afford to sell McBride not at 100% of his value. Now, Lucas says, what are your thoughts? Quarterback room's terrible, or should I pivot to a cheaper deal for Herbert? No. In my opinion, I think you are much better off overpaying for a top 4 quarterback like Lamar, Daniels, Allen, Hurts. Obviously, the top 2 quarterbacks like Lamar and Allen are even that much better than you would be to go and make a trade for like Justin Herbert or Baker Mayfield. Ewing says, get you that $20 bonus at Underdog, free money. What is the bonus on Underdog right now? Can you let me know? I will say, quick side note. I know I'm getting distracted here. Luke, I'm sorry. But if you filled out the Google form with your flockfantasy.com and Underdog username, if you got the season pass or your name, your mother flocker, all those users had been sent that free $10. But anyway, Genty and Devonta Smith is a very fair price point to go out there and pay for Lamar Jackson. Running back, we have Benson breaking out. We have CMC. I don't love it. Don't get me wrong. The Mike Evans injury, here's what I would try to do instead. I think you're overpaying. I think maybe wide receiver's a little bit compromised because if you're looking at what we have with the Mike Evans injury, like I would love to send like Purdy and Genty for Lamar instead if we could. Maybe him says, looking to upgrade at running back, might be able to make this happen. If not, do I sweeten it further? Here's the thing, man. Let me triple check, make sure that these league settings are right. Yeah. This is an 8-team league where you start 2 receivers in a flex. You have JSN, Malik Neighbors, and AJ Brown. DK Metcalf is legit worthless in this league. So 100% you go and get Amari and Hampton. Not even thinking about it. Go for Hampton. April, always happy to see you. Trading Fields, Tet, Kraft for Lamb and Kittle. April, I know you were in the chat. Could you please let me know quickly, what is your record on this team? Because Kraft to Kittle, if you're 3-0, I'd rather have Kittle. Tet to Lamb, if you're 2-1, I'd rather have Lamb. If you're 3-0, obviously I'd rather have Lamb. If you're 0-3, I'd rather have Tet. And then Justin Fields isn't going to matter much one way or another. April, 2-1. Okay. So after we were to make this, our starting lineup in week 4 would be Bijan, Chase Brown, Brian Thomas, Rome, Adams, and Judkins. So you have the depth to do it. So I would do it. Obviously, we're making it a lot less likely that we win games over the next month. But if you look like you're a playoff team, then might as well shoot your shot. Now, Not Versi says, got this trade sent. What do you think? Thanks as always. Thank you, my friend. Us sending Ricky Pearsall for Trey Benson. Right now at receiver, we have Rome, Moore, Adams, Higgins. Running back, we only have 2 running backs of note. So I'd be fine trading the depth wide receiver for a depth running back here. JB says 2-1. Running back depth would take a hit. Chase Igbuka, Fannin for Malik Montgomery got vetoed earlier in the week. If that's Jamar Chase, your league mates are insane for vetoing that. Honestly, even if it was Chase Brown, they're insane for vetoing it. That's not anywhere close to a trade that should have gotten vetoed. Pollard and Keenan for Adams. 14-team format. It's a little bit tougher. Running back, Rachaad White would be our RB3. Wide receiver, we'd have Chase, Adams, and then Tet in. And we have Igbuka. And here's the thing. I don't think in a 14-team league, you have the running back depth to trade away Pollard. I would like to send like 2 wide receivers in a 2-for-1 deal to go get Avonte Adams. Maybe you send Keenan Allen and Ricky Pearsall to get Adams because you have plenty of wide receiver depth. So I think you could do that, to be honest with you. But selling a running back here would be a little bit iffy. But let's move this over. Beto with our next question. Says, I'm 1-2, by the way. Okay. So yeah, we looked at this trade earlier. So our starting lineup this week is Rome Pearsall, James Cook Gibbs, Trevion, and like Quentin Johnson. So Igbuka is a significant upgrade there. If you're 1-2, I'm okay with you making this trade. If you're 0-3, I think it would be a trade that you would have to make. If you're 2-1, I would hate it. But 1-2, you can make it if you want. Obviously, you're taking off a lot of risk. Derek, I'm sorry, we'll get to that team review right after. Let me just go through the rest of these questions real quick. We only have a couple more. And your team review will be the next one we do. Matty I says, was offered Etienne and Igbuka for Gibbs? Yes or no? I'd rather have Gibbs. Easily. I'm saying this as somebody who has Travis Etienne on their team. Unless it was like a 14, 16 team league. But it looks like we're about to hit 1,000 likes on the stream. So if you haven't already, go down there, drop a like, and we'll send out some more free questions. We are sending out free questions in every single live stream as always. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We're going to live stream every single day until Christmas answering these free questions. Now, Scuffed trading Igbuka for Pickens. Yeah, I'll take Pickens. Because with Igbuka, like, obviously the Evans injury vaults him up, but you will have Godwin coming back, and then eventually Evans coming back as well. Now, our next one coming up from Taco. This is Benson Judkins versus Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, no question about it. I'm saying as somebody who hard faded Derrick Henry in drafts and somebody went all in on Benson and Judkins, that I hope I'm wrong. I hope both of these running backs crush Derrick Henry, but in redraft, yeah, give me Derrick Henry. But yeah, it looks like we just hit 1,000 likes, so drop your username in the chat and we'll go ahead and we'll send out those free questions. Next one, JP sending Pollard and Chase for Derrick Henry. Ooh, 14-team format. Leftover receiver, we'd have Igbuka, Tet, Keenan, Ricky Pearsall. If you have depth, 12-team league, I'd say yes. 14-team format, and full PPR, I still probably want to hold on to Chase and Pollard, but I don't hate the deal. But 14-team format, again, those waiver wire options are just generally going to be worse. Well, let's send this over. We got Ryan1298. Let me see if I can find you on the site. And if so, we'll send you over that free question, my friend. 1298. Just found you and just sent you over a free start set. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in this. I'm actually going to send you over a free trade because it looks like you've asked. I'm sorry. I'm going to send you a free start set because it looks like, I don't know. I sent you something. You have a free question on your account. Reddit says, I'm completely lost. I have a lot of good pieces, but no real starters. If you wanted to make a trade, possibly you could go through. And if you have a bad record, maybe sell like Rashee Rice and Scat to get the best running back possible. But if you're like 0-3, 1-2, that's what I'd look to do. But also, if that was your record, I think you could include Lamb. But losing Lamb obviously is going to be brutal on a team that also has Rashee Rice. Now, Flachuka says, I have Puka, A.J. Brown, Kamara, Dobbins, Pollard. We need some help. Yeah, Chief. Give me Justin Jefferson here. What, this is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league? We have 3 running backs we can start. Maybe I'm not super excited about them. But I'd still very clearly rather have Justin Jefferson over Breece and Debo. Now, Gibney 91 trading JCM, Rashee Rice, Matthew Golden for Scat, Keenan, and Sutton. JCM to Scat, upgrade. Rice to Sutton, lateral move. Golden to Keenan, upgrade. I think you can do it. Maybe if you're 3-0, you'd be hesitant and you'd rather hold on to Rashee Rice for the long-term upside. But still. Now, J-Rud trading Benson and Marr for A.J. Brown. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Running back left over, we'd have Scat, Kyron, Harvey. Because your running back room's questionable, I'm probably going to hold on to Benson here, but I do like the price point to get A.J. Brown. Don't get me wrong. It's a good price. Now, OG Suzuki trading Bowers for Hampton and Kraft. Yeah, give me Hampton and Kraft. Like, Bowers hasn't looked like the same exact tight end he was last year since the knee injury. Like, if you make an argument with no Najee that Amari and Hampton's just as valuable, and you're picking up Tucker Kraft here effectively for free. Now, next question is going to be from Coley 101. Running back. I'm going to start Trevion here in a PPR format. Expecting Trevion expands his role with no Gibson as well as... I'm sorry, not with no Gibson. With Gibson and Ramondre both fumbling. And then down in the flex, I'm going to go Devonta Smith over Jordan Addison. I'm not going to be able to start Addison if freaking Jefferson's not producing. Brody Wells trading Chase for Lamb. I'd rather have Chase at this point. Maybe if you're 3-0, then sure, you take the risk with CeeDee Lamb. It has seemed like almost every trade that I have looked at today that has involved CeeDee Lamb, I've wanted the Jamar Chase side. Which is very surprising because I would have assumed that it would almost have been the opposite. I'm sorry, almost any trade we've looked at involving CeeDee Lamb, I've wanted the other side. Okay. Let's mark that complete, and then let's go ahead and let's get back to some of the team reviews real quick. And I think our next one's going to be from Sego Bands. My guy, I really appreciate you. I'm really excited to check this out. It says, first year of fantasy for me. Hopefully signing up for a good year. How's the team looking so far? Any other thoughts are considered? We're 2-1. We had a bad week 3. Appreciate the channel. Appreciate you, my guy. Super excited to check this out. We are currently first in the league analyzer with future value. This is a deep league. Not only is this... Okay. Sego, can you please let me know in the chat real quick a couple things? One, really the only thing, because this is a 14-team league, I believe that's a start 8 format. Is this a bug on the site, or is Tyreek Hill actually available on your waiver wire? Please let me know. Because if Tyreek is available on your waiver wire in a 14-team league, I'm thinking your league mates know what they are doing because the rest of the waiver wire options are kind of garbage. So I'm going to assume that this is maybe an issue that we're having with the site. Now, if this is not an issue with the site, and if this is legit, what I'm going to need from you is I'm going to need you to spend every fab dollar that you have dropping Alec Ayomanor and picking up Tyreek Hill. Dropping Troy... Actually, I'd probably rather have Ayomanor over Troy Franklin. Let me update that in my rankings. dropping Troy Franklin for Tyreek. You'd spend every little dollar making that move. Now, second thing I want to mention is typically waiver wire options aren't going to be great in your league because your league depth is going to be very important. Again, 14-team format, and it's a start 8 league, so you can get into your lineup, a combined 6 running backs and receivers. We have Bo Nix at quarterback. I would be completely fine rostering 2 QBs. Like, in reality, I'm going to pick up Brock Purdy here. I think you go ahead and I think you drop both Franklin and Ayo Manor. I think you pick up Brock Purdy and then obviously go after Tyreek Hill aggressively, as we already mentioned. But if we are looking at what we have with Purdy, significantly better than any options on the waiver wire at quarterback, while at the same time, he is good enough that when he comes back, which could potentially be this next week, you could potentially play the matchups between him and Bo Nix. Derek says it's a side issue. Okay, cool. Good to know. But still, I would drop Troy Franklin. I'd pick up Brock Purdy for sure. Going over to running back, you have Tyron Tracy, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, Blake Corum. So the handcuff RBs. If this was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I would say, you know what? We probably want to go through. We probably want to drop Alec Ayo Manor. We probably want to be picking up Braylon Allen. However, with this being a league in which you can get so many wide receivers into your starting lineup weekly and the depth's going to matter, and we just had the Mike Evans injury, like actually I do think that there's a world in which you are starting this wide receiver depth. Looking at running back, we have the absolute hammers at the top end. We have Bijan, we have Jonathan Taylor. If we were to redraft today, they are probably both top 5 picks. So we have the number 1 ranked running back room in this league. We have the long-term upside of Mixon. We have Chubb as a potential play in the short term. And then Byshell Tuten, a long-term upside shot as well. Looking at wide receiver, we have London, we have Evans, we have Addison, we have Golden. So again, wide receiver depth really does matter. I don't know why I'm saying matter. But it matters, and the Mike Evans injury is going to hurt us a decent amount. Tight end, we have no Kittle, we have Juwan, and we have Fannin. So here we have Mixon missing, we have Evans missing, and we have Kittle missing. And you can still field a starting lineup. That is how good your team is in a 14-team format. You're still throwing out Bijan, Jonathan Taylor at running back, London, Addison at wide receiver, and then in the flexes, we're going to be going with Matthew Golden and probably Nick Chubb. Are those the best flex plays? No. But Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor can win you the week just straight up by themselves. So I love your team. I think you're 2-1. You can afford to wait for these injured players to come back. I would just keep this super stupid simple. I would go ahead. I would cut Troy Franklin. I would pick up Brock Purdy. And I don't think I would do anything else, to be honest with you. But yeah, great team. I don't know if you drafted this team, but if you drafted this team with this being your first fantasy league, that is amazing. But let me send you over some free questions just in case there's anything else that you wanted to follow up with us about this. I'd be super happy to take a look at anything you want me to. Now let's move this over to our next one. This is going to be from Silky Flocky. Says, I like my team a lot. Wondering if you have any trade advice, particularly for a quarterback or a tight end. In general, 10-team league, start 8 format, so I don't necessarily think it's the most important thing for us to trade for a QB or tight end. Going into this past week, we were 1-1. We had lost week 2. So I'll say first things first, we have to make some plays when it comes to the waiver wire. I think I would rather have Joe Mixon over Tajee Spears if we are just looking at the upside shot in a 10-team format. So I would go ahead, I would drop Spears, I would pick up Mixon. And again, honestly, it doesn't really matter if Spears is on your IR or if he's on your bench. Either way, you should be able to put Mixon on your IR too. Looking at what we have at quarterback, we have Caleb Williams, we have Justin Fields. So essentially, 10-team league, you're just in a spot in which you are starting these quarterbacks based off matchups. Definitely going to be one of the weaker positions on this team. Going over to tight end, we have Hunter Henry, who obviously was great this past week. I really hope we started him over Mark Andrews. Not going to fault you if you benched him because it didn't look like Hunter Henry was great in week 2. I would probably consider, here's the thing. Cutting Mark Andrews would be appealing to me because I'm assuming what happens in this game. But if he has another performance with less than 10 receiving yards, I think you go ahead and I think you cut Andrews and you pick up like Brian Robinson, where you would have that elite ceiling if anything were to occur to CMC. But you have the ability to start to combine 6 running backs and receivers. We have Bijan, Hampton, Judkins, JSN, London, Wilson, Higgins, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. We have 9 startable players. So clearly, I would love to go out there and I would love to try to trade for a QB upgrade. I would love to try to trade for a tight end upgrade by selling one of these depth receivers. And I know our gut reaction may be like, oh, okay, well, let's sell Jalen Waddle. We're never going to start Waddle here. Oh, let's sell Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith's not going to be reliable here. But 10-team league, you're probably not going to be able to get much value out of them. I would be very surprised if you could find somebody that would be interested in trading for him. So what I would probably do instead here is I think I would actually look to go through and trade the upper tier wide receivers, not to JSN, Drake London's extent, but maybe to, say, Garrett Wilson's level, right? You should be able to find somebody that'd be excited to trade for Garrett Wilson. I mean, if there was a world in which you could send Garrett Wilson and Caleb Williams to go out there and get an elite quarterback, go get Daniels, go get Hurts. Obviously, Allen Lamar would be a no-brainer. I'd sell London and Caleb to get to Allen Lamar. I think it'd make a lot of sense, and I think that you can do it because we have the luxury of us sitting here with Higgins, Smith, and Waddle all on our bench. Like, you can realistically play those wide receivers based off matchups. And then I would kind of say the same thing here. If you could sell Drake London and Hunter Henry to go get to Trey McBride, I think we'll do that as well. Like, you can try to sell like Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, T. Higgins, but I just look at a lot of fantasy football trades. I look at a lot of fantasy football teams every single day, look at a lot of leagues. And typically leagues with these league settings, nobody's going to be interested in buying those wide receivers, even if technically they're usable for the bench. So I think you're just kind of going to sell the wide receivers that are a little more exciting, like Garrett Wilson here, to get that upgrade, and then we'll just slide our wide receiver depth pieces up. But I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thank you so much, my friend, for supporting the channel. Let me send you over some of those free questions just in case there's anything else that you wanted to follow up with. I'd be super happy to check it out for you. Now, let's move this over to Kirch's team. Says 0-3, bro. Any trades or waiver wire moves? Happy PPR, single flex. Thanks, brother. Keep it league. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, my friend. As always, I'm going to go ahead and I see that we are going to look at 3-year teams here. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to send you a ridiculous amount of vouchers. Clearly, you're in a lot of leagues. So let me send you 10 free vouchers over to your account. So if there's anything that you want me to look at, I'd be super happy to always take a peek at it for you, my friend. But if we are 0-3, it's time to sell any long-term upside we have and just get points into this starting lineup. It is time to, and oof. Jerry Jones saying CeeDee Lamb could potentially go to the IR. I'm going to have to record a clip for the Flock League. We'll get back to this team in 1 second, but can everybody in the chat please spam RIP Danny or RIP the Ladster or RIP Lamb, something along those lines, so I can share this in the Flock League? So we got to make a clip for this for Danny. Okay. Waiting for people in the chat to get this going. Okay. You see that? That's the chat. RIP the Ladster. We just got the report that CeeDee Lamb may be headed to the IR. So here's the thing about Danny, if you don't know. Not only is he a CeeDee Lamb drafter, not only did he have CeeDee Lamb ranked, I want to say at the 102 all along, so all his best ball teams invested into CeeDee Lamb. The team in this league invested into CeeDee Lamb. He's a massive Dallas Cowboys fan. But he is such a big Dallas Cowboys fan that ever since I have known Danny, his screensaver to his phone, every time he picks up his phone, every time he goes to check his text, it is a photo of CeeDee Lamb. That is exactly how much Danny loves his guy. And the fact that Lamb is going to be now missing what seems to be like half the rest of our regular season, it's just brutal. And we go back to last year where Danny lost Rashee Rice, lost God knows how many wide receivers. He came to the draft saying that he invested into his training staff. He invested into his team doctors. Clearly, it didn't pay off. Clearly, he doesn't know what he's doing. And Danny, I am sorry, but it's going to be you and Badaki sitting there at a Denny's. Okay. We'll go ahead and let me send that in the chat. But let's get this going for Kirch. So, Kirch, if you're 0-3, man, it is time to just sell any long-term value and get short-term pieces in. So as we pull this up, it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So wide receiver depth's not going to matter much here. But it looks like we don't really have much wide receiver depth regardless, right? Looking at what we have at quarterback, we have Drake May. Are we super excited about May? No, not really. But with that being said, our options on waivers, actually you can go through, you can pick up Brock Purdy. So I would probably drop Woody Marks and I would pick up Brock Purdy. Then going over to running back, Amari Hampton, while technically he's a rookie, he's no longer a long-term piece. Amari Hampton at this point is somebody that is a must-start running back every single week. So I think we can jam him in the flex and we can be really excited about it. Looking at the options on the waiver wire at running back, nobody really stands out. Going over to receiver, this is where a trade would be made if we can find one. We can't justify having Xavier Worthy and Travis Hunter on this team anymore. Xavier Worthy, Travis Hunter still give you a lot of long-term upside. But in terms of short-term production, really non-existent. So, I mean, I would love to send Hunter and Worthy in a package and a 2-for-1 deal to go get a better wide receiver. If you can send Hunter and Worthy and go get George Pickens, let's do it. If you can send Hunter and Worthy and go get Tyreek Hill, let's do it. Hunter and Worthy for A.J. Brown. Hunter and Worthy for, you can't go for Lamb, of course. Hunter and Worthy for Tet. Hunter and Worthy for London. If you wanted to make a smaller deal, maybe try to send like Worthy straight up for Jameson Williams. Hell, throw in like Khalil Shakir. Who cares? But if you were looking at a trade here, it's selling that long-term value to get points in this lineup right now. Because you can still be in it if you are 0-3. But for us to become a 500 team over the next 9 weeks, you have to win 6 out of 9 games. And I know Theo Mims says Pickens ranked wide receiver 12. Yeah, I moved Pickens up to wide receiver 12 in my rest of season rankings already. We did that this morning with the Lamb news. And I kind of stand by it, especially now that we have the report that he could be going to the IR. Like Pickens, I did not draft him much, but he's going to crush. So that's what I would do with that team. Kurt, so let me move over to your next team. And like I said, we also sent you over like 10 free questions on the site. You should have a bunch of free vouchers in your account. So on any of these teams or any other teams, I'd be super happy to answer anything that you want. So we're 0-3 with this team. It's a double flex format, however, and it's a 12-team league. So we are antiques. We are 5th in the league analyzer in terms of future value. Looking at this team, it's like another similar spot, right? Where we have the combo of Hunter and Stefon Diggs as players that we needed to rely upon. And obviously, they're just simply not reliable for us. Running back, we have Jacobs, Walker, Brees that we just kind of have to hold on to. We need a different tight end. You have to drop Loveland, even if you like the long-term upside of Loveland. You drop Loveland and you pick up Harold Fannin. Let's look at the other options that we have at tight end on the waiver wire. Maybe Britton Strange, like Evan Ingram, not going to do much good for you with the back injury. Obviously, we need points right now. So, again, I would look to drop Loveland, pick up one of these other tight ends, and then sell future value. Looking at quarterbacks available on waivers, there aren't many. If somebody is in love with Caleb Williams after the Cowboys game, like your wide receiver room is maybe not strong enough for us to, like, the wide receiver room is the problem here. Travis Hunter, wide receiver 2, kills this team. You may end up having to sell Caleb Williams and Travis Hunter to get the best wide receiver you can. Can we find a team that's needing help at quarterback? This team is Michael Penix and Joe Burrow. Can we send Caleb Williams and Travis Hunter for Ladd McConkey? Can we send Caleb Williams and Stefon Diggs for DK Metcalf? And the issue is you're just going to have a hard time selling Caleb. This team is Drake May and Jordan Love. Can we send them Caleb Williams for Deebo Samuel? Caleb Williams for Jamison Williams? This team is Daniel Jones, Brock Purdy. Probably not trading for Caleb. So the other trade that we could make is very similar to what we did with the other team. If you're 0-3, we have to do everything that we can to still fight in it. So I think maybe we could go through it. Maybe we could look at selling like Stefon Diggs and Travis Hunter in a 2-for-1 deal to just try to get a viable wide receiver. Travis Hunter, Stefon Diggs, give me Ladd McConkey, give me DK Metcalf. Give me Rome Odunze. Give me George Pickens. Give me Devonta Smith. Give me Marvin Harrison. Give me Deebo Samuel. Give me A.J. Brown, Ricky Pearsall. Give me Devontae Adams. I am just spamming every single team in our league if we are 0-3. Trades where we try to send them Travis Hunter and Stefon Diggs to go get an upgrade at wide receiver. Because reality is, if I was 3-0, like I'm 3-0 in the Flock League, there's a chance I would like to trade for Travis Hunter if I could. Now, I know the team that has him is crazy about Travis Hunter, so I'm not going to be able to. But I think you just got to claw your way back in. And then, of course, I'd try selling Caleb if we can. But Kurt's with another 0-3 team. But let me see. This one says, thanks, brother. Both teams are linked. Hopefully you have it. It's Easy Money Antiques and Precious Post-Con / tier based. Let me see. This is Antiques. This looks like the same team, no? I'm going to send you over a free team review, my guy. I don't know if this last team, you sent the same one in twice. So if you have a third team that I'd be happy to look at, or maybe you just accidentally sent this one in twice, if you want to save that free team review and ask me later in the year, whatever it may be. I really appreciate you and really hope that I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, we just sent you over those. We sent you over those 10 free vouchers for all the smaller questions, and we sent you over that free team review as well in case you wanted to send something over. I mean, send a different team over, or if it was just you accidentally submitted one twice. But let's look at this for TFSE Rob. Says 0-2, down 3 in my matchup, but my opponent has Goff tomorrow and I'm done. So effectively we are 0-3. I appreciate you, my guy. Always happy to see you. Let me go through and send you over a bunch of free questions as well, just in case there's anything that you want to follow up with this team for. Let's make sure you have all the questions that you possibly could want. Okay. So we are the second team in the league analyzer in terms of future value. Here's my thing with your team. I think you probably just got bailed out. I understand that if we are looking at this, maybe like it was really bad through the first 2 weeks, right? Really bad through the first 2 weeks whenever we're sitting here and we have Amari Hampton doing absolutely nothing. And RJ Harvey possibly hitting our starting lineup one of those weeks. But now that you have the Aaron Jones and Najee Harris injuries, vaulting up Amari Hampton and Jordan Mason to be must-start running backs, for a 14-team like yours, 14-team league like yours, this team all of a sudden is actually very strong. We have Kyler Murray at quarterback. I wouldn't mind rostering 2 QBs here in a 14-teamer. Looking at the options on the waiver wire, like you could go through and you could pick up Matthew Stafford if you wanted. Running back, you have the third best running back room in this league. Arguably, you have 3 running back ones here in the short term, and mainly the only thing that we care about is short-term production. Egbuka looks like he's going to absolutely crush with a Mike Evans injury as well. Here's what you got to do with your team. Again, if you're 0-3, we change our mindset completely. It's how do I sell future value and get points into this lineup right now? So what I would be trying to do is sell RJ Harvey, see if you can get anything at all for Joe Mixon, and try to upgrade at wide. Like, can we sell RJ Harvey and Jamar Chase for Amon-Ra St. Brown? Can we sell RJ Harvey, Joe Mixon, and Jamar Chase for Puka Nacua? Can we sell RJ Harvey and Tet McMillan and go get to Nico Collins? Can we sell RJ Harvey and Brenton Strange and go get to Tucker Kraft? So I think your team's going to be much better going into the future. Again, League Analyzer has us as the second most value in this league. I think our team, again, obviously it hurt when we lost Burrow for Jamar Chase, but this past week, or the past 2 weeks now, has played out extremely well for Hampton, Jordan Mason, and Egbuka for their future value. I think we should be a lot more excited about them for that reason. But I really appreciate you, my guys. Sent you over those free questions in case there's anything else that you want me to take a look at for you. But again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock as always. But I'm going to go ahead and let's pivot this back over to some of the faster questions just so we can make sure we get to those before the game. And of course, we'll be answering, we'll be sending out free questions as well. So just make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We are sending out free questions in the live streams every single day. I will not miss a single day of answering fantasy football questions on this live stream until Christmas. Now, Oppent trading Jalen Warren and Tet McMillan for Justin Jefferson. Yeah, get Jefferson. Not close. Now, Justine, here we're trading Chase Brown, Jamar Chase for Breece Hall and Rome Odunze. I'd rather a Breece over Chase Brown, but they're close for me. Jamar Chase is still very easily the play over Rome. I think we get one more week where Jake Browning looks that bad, and all of a sudden the Cincinnati Bengals go out there and they make a play for a different quarterback. Just keep in mind the Bengals are 2-1 still. They're still in it. Okay. Now let's move this over. Now Magic Mike with this next one. Here, quarterback, we're going to go ahead. We're going to play May this next week. Wide receiver, We have no Evans, so you're going like Debo and JMO. I don't know if you submitted this right. Actually, no, never mind. I'm being an idiot. Running back, we're going to go Achane. And then in the flex, we're going to go Trey Benson. Like, we'll see what JMO does this week. Maybe you end up playing him over Benson. But Benson looks like you're going to get the guaranteed volume. Now, Bengals Super Bowl 2026 is trading Ginty and Swift for Chase and Andrews. Andrews is a 0, by the way. Like, Andrews isn't worth a roster spot unless he proves otherwise tonight. I love the value that you're getting here. I think the Chase side of this is the winning side. But I will say it's not like your running back room's incredibly strong. Now, Danny says, too much depth. This or ETN instead of Debo's probably worst case scenario, but we need an upgrade. If you're 3-0, sure, go out there and make this deal. But if you're like needing some wins over the next few weeks, Jordan Mason's, you can just pencil him in as an RB1. So I think the value at the moment's on the Jordan Mason side. I think we would probably go ahead and probably hold on to Mason. I think you need to charge a larger premium. Now, C. Wheelan trading Jordan Mason, Trey Benson, Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden, Quentin Johnston. I'd rather have the big Q, and I'd way rather have Gibbs over Trey Benson and Jordan Mason. So we're going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, Keeksko coming through. Wide receiver this next week, I would say I'm most likely starting Brian Thomas and Ladd McConkey under the assumption that Jawan Jennings plays in San Fran. But obviously, it's going to be tough for me to answer start-sit questions this early. Here for Mike, we know we're going to start Justin Herbert and Baker Mayfield. Wide receiver, we have no Mike Evans, so like Metcalf, Brian Thomas. Actually, no, you have Puka Nacua. We're going to go ahead, we'll play Puka over Metcalf. Tight ends, we got Tucker Kraft. No, we have Tyler Warren, sorry. We have Bijan. Dear God. Bijan, Taylor, Metcalf, and Jacoby. I think I'd play Metcalf and Jacoby Myers over DJ Moore at this point. Now, Rusty coming through with the trade. I don't know if it's just not loading or you didn't submit anything. It looks like you didn't submit any trade options. So I'm going to send you over another free trade voucher in case you want to resubmit that. Turtle time. This is St. Brown, DK Metcalf versus Benson, Scat, Adams, Pittman. Most leagues, I would say it's going to be the Amon-Ra St. Brown side. However, with this being a 14-team start 8 league, before you make this deal, you're starting RJ Harvey and Byshell Tootin at running back. So I am okay with you making it. You are losing value. Like, this better be the absolute best price that you can get. But obviously, just picking up 2 running back starters there, your team needs them. FB Finesser trading CMC, Jalen Naylor, and Calvin Austin don't matter. He's trading McCaffrey for Marvin, Bryant Thomas. I do not care what your league settings are. You want McCaffrey there. Unless it's Dynasty. Dynasty, go with the other side. I'm a Joe trading Lamb for Trevion and Rome. Running back, yeah, honestly, Trevion probably plays here long-term for us. If you need points right now, you're 1-2, you're in 0-3, and you want to go get Romadou and say, I'm not going to fault you for it. So I think you go with Trevion and Rome. Now, Seawood with the start set. For the flex, I'm playing Trey Benson over Marv. Easy. Like, Marv's just a boom-bust option at this point. Lou, looking at Judkins versus George Pickens. I went heavy buying the dip on Quinshon Judkins this year. And I faded drafting George Pickens. So, I really hope I'm wrong, but it's easily George Pickens. George Pickens with no Lamb will project out as a wide receiver 1. Now, F8 Finesser trading CMC Trev Pickens for Neighbors, Tet, and Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson's nothing. Pickens to Tet, lateral move. Would I rather have CMC and Trev or Malik Neighbors? I'd rather have CMC straight up over Neighbors. So McCaffrey, easy. Now, Real WG says, which wide receiver should I drop to pick up Godwin? Probably Golden. It's either Golden or Jawan Jennings. And then you're probably playing Ladd this week. Ron Jovi says, need running back depth. My other receivers are Chase, London, Waddle. Does this make no? I hope I'm wrong here. Again, I have a ridiculous amount of Quinshon Judkins and Underdog best ball drafts. But with that being said, I cannot get behind making a move like this when we look at Judkins. He's a first and second down running back in one of the league's worst offenses. Like, I hope this changes, but as of now, he's not playing on third downs. Now, K9 trading Hampton and Buka for Bucky and Moore. Downgrade at receiver to upgrade at running back. I think it's a fair deal. It's going to be up to you. I mean, DJ Moore has been real bad. I think the hope with DJ Moore at this point is he ends up getting traded. Now, Bucks to the bowl. Put CeeDee Lamb and then nothing on the other side. I'm going to send you over a free trade question so you can submit that, resubmit that. Let me know what you're looking at. F8 Finesser, here tight ends. I'm going to start Dallas Goedert over Strange and Chig at this point. Felt like we got lucky with the Dallas Goedert touchdown, though. Crap, is the dog in the front yard? Oh my gosh, it sounds like the dog's in the front yard. Okay. Lil Booyah trading Hollywood for Scat. Yeah, I mean, I would have done this trade last week before Tyrone Tracy got injured. Scat is super, super easy to play there. Whether it's Dynasty or Redraft, doesn't matter. Mark trading JSN, Kyler for Swift and Lamb. I don't see why you're taking on this risk. Give me JSN. What's the difference points per game between JSN and CeeDee Lamb going into the future? Like, why, like, again, CeeDee Lamb probably misses the next 4 weeks. And he is a week 10 bye. So you have him for no weeks. 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. He's missing 5 weeks. And think about how many weeks we have until week 14. We got like 10 weeks. He's going to miss half the rest of the regular season. You easily want JSN there. Josh Two-Ball here for the flex. It's tough. I mean, it's way too early for me to answer this question. We'll see what JMO does tonight, but I mean, it doesn't look like anybody else here is compelling. Now, Josh Two-Ball trading Lamb for Brian Thomas and Kraft. Ugh. Wide receiver without Lamb, you do not have. You're starting freaking Jerry Jeudy wide receiver too. I would try to get more for CeeDee Lamb. This is the first trade that we've seen all live stream where I've gone with the CeeDee Lamb side. So I think we go Lamb. Okay, let's refresh this. Vase has finally got a trade offer. Is it worth it? We have Kraft 2. Jefferson to Gibbs upgrade, Benson to Kittle. Yeah, I think you go for it. I mean, obviously you need a flip to go ahead and sell a tight end, but overall I like the value. Okay, let me see how many team reviews we have. Okay, we're not that far back on team reviews. Maybe I hate myself for this tomorrow, but I think I'm probably going to call this live stream here so I don't have to be up until 2 in the morning making videos tonight, so I can record this next video, get it to the editor before the game starts. But appreciate y'all hanging out with us in this live stream. There are a bunch of people answering fantasy football questions right now on YouTube. I can go ahead and I can show you some if you needed help finding. All I would ask is if you go over and check out their streams, tell them I sent you. Said came from Mason. And then I'll be live streaming after the game tonight talking about the impact. Should be a really, really fun game tonight, which is why I kind of want to make sure I can make this video before the game. So just make sure you subscribe, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. I'm going to live stream every single day answering fantasy football questions until Christmas. So looks like there are 2 channels that are currently live at the moment. There is Fantasy Stock Exchange. They are answering questions. And there's also Fantasy Land answering questions. So go check out one of their streams. Get your questions in to them. There are less people there as well, so maybe they can get to your questions faster. And you can also submit them on flockfantasy.com to their streams. But appreciate you all hanging out with us. If you go over to one of those streams, let them know I sent you. And I really hope I get to see you out in the live stream later tonight.